Yo, what's cracking? This is Daniel Walton, and this is the show for those who don't believe in limitations. So if you're ready to be better than you were yesterday and hit new levels mentally, physically, financially, or spiritually, it's time to go higher. Most people don't even know the algorithm. It's follower-based algorithm, which was based on how many followers you had. That's how many people would see your content. And then, short form content came out, TikTok being the first one to really create short form content as content platform. And it completely changed the game, which was we're no longer a follower-based platform. We're an interest-based algorithm, right? So it went from that follower-based algorithm to an interest-based algorithm, which is it will first show your content to so many followers, right? I believe it's 5% of your following will see your content based off of how those people engage. It's then going to show it to more of your followers. It's going to double it up. Now 10% of your followers are going to see it. Then if it continues to do well, right? Well, what makes good content? Engagement. Well, what is engagement composed of? Watch time, likes, shares, saves, but not just likes, right? Real likes, because it's analyzing is somebody just going through and hitting like? Well, we know then that's probably just a friend liking it, right? So it's what actual metrics, and it has all these different points of preference that it's looking at and analyzing all these data points, and it's determining this is good content based off of user interactions. It's analyzing their face, everything. These apps are literally looking at our facial expressions to how we analyze content. And it's depending on that, it's going to determine this piece of content's good. So on the organic side, it will show your content to more people if you have good content, right? Which is why I'm hey, we need to create some good content out of this too. Yeah, sure. But the algorithm rewards you by helping you go viral. The platforms, when you're paying and investing, they reward you by lowering your CPM. So most places that are just doing these crazy discounts, buy this, buy that, all these supplements that you see, it's they're not making as much money because, it's just not content most people want to see, where when you can actually create engaging content that's unique, content people can relate to, it's now you can really align with the algorithm, align with the audience. And then you're going to also build just so much more, you can actually build the authenticity. And that's where I think a lot of these questions, they'll queue up that it's going to build more of an authentic who you are. You're a real human, show some personality, real questions that men actually are wondering, that men's girlfriends are actually wondering. And then now we can create content that is going to be rewarded when you start spending on ads, right? So that's pretty much what most people don't understand. And it's looking at everything. I mean, the social media platforms, the average Facebook user, as I said, spends about 2 hours and 20 minutes per day scrolling. That's crazy, yeah. Which is insane. I'm yeah, I'm I probably spend more time because I'm looking at content. Now I'm trying to spend less. The motto for myself is I'm a content creator, not a content consumer. So I reinforce, I'm all right, I got to create content, not consume it. But with these platforms, what they do is they analyze everything. They have an average of and this is from our Facebook rep, since we're a partner now. Yeah. They have an average of 52,000 points of preference per user. So that 2 hours and 20 minutes that they're spending, they're analyzing everything about you. That's why if you engage with more reels, you're going to see more reels, more short form content. If you engage with a lot of the carousel posts, they're going to show more carousel posts on your feed. If you engage with for me, it's this year, one of my things that I'm going to do is buy a 911. So I'm just scrolling through all these 911 videos, and all I see now on my suggested page is 911 videos. And it's they know exactly what you like and want to see more than you do almost. I don't know 200 things that I like. I like good coffee from Keen. I like a couple other things, but aside from that, I'm I don't know 200 things that I like. And these apps have an average of 52,000 points of preference. So now, as we're talking about, it's we're in the content age. It's true. You have to understand content, and not just understand content, but human psychology, persuasion, storytelling, and then understanding what these platforms reward you for. Right. And then when you can pair all of that together, you can make a lot of money in paid, and in organic, but organic's just very slow, long time frame to see results, and the scalability is not there, right?
Are phones listening to us when they hear our preferences?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're listening. Yeah.
They're talking about something and it just pops up, right?
Yeah, for sure. They're listening to you, and they're watching you. When you're scrolling, they're analyzing. This has been Facebook's come out publicly about this. I used to be so against it. I came from the cannabis industry. That was my first business. Here, did a Prop 215 California compliant dispensary and delivery. And so I was I don't want to be on the internet at all. Just no way. And then it got to a point where I was you can't like win in business. Like unless you're established, it's like, and even established ones, I feel like they're going to go away if you're not active. You know, as I said, like the average consumer spends like 2 hours and 20 minutes just scrolling mindlessly, right? What were they doing before? Right. Well, they were watching TV, right? They were watching the news. They were listening to the radio. Now these platforms have consumed so much of it. So if you think like, okay, well, how did they communicate? How did businesses like stay alive, stay in front of audiences? Like they use the radio, they use the news, they use TV. So what's replacing these platforms? And well, how do you get in front of them? You have to have really good content. So it's just so important to invest in like really high quality content. And yeah, this has been like a game changer for me. I have a crazy amount of content that I haven't even like launched yet. That's
awesome.
Yeah,
I've seen some of it. I see some of the one in that room. Looks good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just, still a work in progress. It's just like reps, you just need a time on camera.
No, for sure. You have to get comfortable in front of the camera. Like I've noticed even in the beginning when I used to like make my own little videos till now, it's significant improvement, Just being in front of it and seeing how different things, like how you talk with your hands a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I know I used to I was like a conductor with my hands when I first started. I have some of my original videos up because I just want people to see like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just filming a bunch of random shit, and now like starting to take off, which is kind of cool.
Like the personality now when you're talking is.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot. I feel like I've always been good on camera, maybe just from like doing sales my whole life. Like I used to sell the newspaper, like to go door to door. Like I would go to like the LA Fair, Orange County Fair, and just set up like a booth in like those like vendor sections, and I would just like yell at
voice
people.
Too. You have to have like a voice that resonates a little bit,
Yeah.
And it's something that some people just don't have it,
Yeah, you do too. Like you're natural, like personable. I feel like people who are generally can have no problem like talking to others. It's like you're gonna probably do fine on camera. Okay, so welcome to 7-Figure Practices, your go-to resource for all things sales, marketing, operations, and all the stuff you wish you knew when you started your practice. Today, we got a special guest, Dr. Haad. Dr. Haad runs Zeus Men's Health and is currently still working in the ER while scaling this business. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Dr. Haad Mahmoud here. Yeah, so I grew up in Chicago, a small suburb called Oak Brook outside of Chicago. Just love science, so went into biochemistry at University of Illinois. That was my major. 2000, I was messed up the years, 2004 through 2008. And then I went into medicine. I went into med school at Chicago Medical School 2008 to 2012. Took my residency in LA in California, actually Huntington Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
And they were at the time affiliated with USC. So now they're affiliated with Cedars, but that was from 2012 to 2015. And then been practicing there, and also several other hospitals. During COVID, there was a great need for physicians kind of throughout the country. So I worked in Tennessee, Redding, California, Sacramento, kind of all over. Worked like probably 10 different hospitals during that time. And after just helping different areas, just pretty crazy time. But so yeah, that working there and still work at Huntington a little bit, but kind of managing this business and starting that up over the past year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. What made you choose internal medicine?
So internal is kind of like the center of the universe in terms of medicine. It's kind of the holistic approach to it. To kind of give you an example of like a patient case. It's always easier to learn from examples, but say you had a patient who, I saw a lot of this, an obese guy comes in having a heart attack, but in the process of having the heart attack, you realize he has diabetes too, and he actually has kidney damage from the diabetes. So he's got kidney failure, heart attack, had a history of a stroke. And then from the kidney failure, he now has hepatorenal syndrome, so his liver's failing. And so you kind of have the ability to tie all these diverse medical problems to like one issue, like the fact that he was obese kind of caused all this.
Right.
And so you can kind of take a step back and say, well, maybe if we worked on this obesity problem that he's had for 20 years, it's built all this disease in his body preventatively and preemptively, we could have done something about it. So that's kind of where being in the hospital and seeing all this disease kind of sparked my interest in why can't we get ahead of these diseases before they happen, as opposed to being reactive and putting a Band-Aid on something after it happens and then something else pops up a week later,
Right.
Seeing a lot of that.
So would you say like internal medicine is more of like the holistic approach to health versus some of the other more like treatment based?
Yeah. Like, so you have surgery where they're like, let's go in there, let's fix it, close it up, we're
Yeah.
done, you know?
Right.
Internal medicine is kind of the foundation of all the specialties that come out of internal medicine, like pulmonology, hepatology, cardiology, neurology. These are all like almost branches of internal medicine. And so if you want to be a good internal medicine doctor, especially in the hospital or even, you know, preventative care wise, you kind of have to know how all organ systems affect each other.
Right.
And being a biochem major, I think it was more of always like a big picture type of thing for me. So I see internal medicine as like the big picture approach to medicine.
Right. So is that kind of what sets you up to start like Zeus Men's Health?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it was the men's health part of it is probably half of the story. I mean, I think I started focusing more on preventative health, you know, kind of holistic care. They call it functional medicine is another way to say that. They're all kind of the same umbrella. In terms of men's health, I kind of just started focusing on my own health after I got COVID twice in 2019. And I just felt horrible afterwards. I think a lot of people can relate to that, the whole long COVID and the brain fog and inflammation you get. It's just a severely inflammatory disease.
Right.
And I'm sure, you know, like inflammation essentially equals disease and age, right?
Yeah.
So you're, you know, after I got COVID, I was just a shell of myself. I had no energy. You know, I had the brain fog, fatigue. Just wasn't even, you know, waking up on the right side of the bed ever.
Yeah.
So I made some changes to myself.
What were those changes?
So a lot of, you know, diet and exercise, resistance training, definitely a lot of cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
I started taking certain supplements. At that time, I, you know, started my research into supplements and seeing what things may help me, may not help me. Did a lot more lab testing, found out that, you know, I actually have a glutathione enzyme deficiency.
Okay.
And so
what is that enzyme for?
So glutathione is your master antioxidant. So it's going to seek out, you know, when you have inflammation or you have glucose spikes, you end up getting a lot of free radicals, which are like these oxygen species that basically can go and damage your DNA.
Okay.
As they damage your DNA over time, you age.
Okay.
And they shorten your telomere length, which means you have less resistance to damage to your DNA. So glutathione is the molecule that can go and bind to those species and prevent them from damaging their DNA.
Okay.
So I did this advanced functional testing, and I found out that that's actually contributing to a lot of my my aging.
Wow.
Okay? And so
you had like no clue up until this test.
Absolutely. There's no way I would have known that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like young and healthy.
This was like, I was probably 33, 34 at the time.
Okay.
And then I found that out. And so I started taking glutathione daily, and I noticed like a significant change in my mental clarity and my mood. And along the same line, you know, glutathione is basically dealing with byproducts of your mitochondrial metabolism. And so when your mitochondria is not working properly, and as we age, our NAD levels go down, I started taking NAD as well. And so a couple changes in my supplement regimen, but they were based off of testing that I got done.
Okay.
Not just like based off of advertisements.
Right.
Like,
seeing that NAD is popular and just taking it because
you know, you'll see maybe 50 different NAD ads, NAD companies, and you're like,
we work for a few. Let's
take a couple of those and maybe take some different supplements, maybe take some probiotics. But if you put evidence and science behind your decisions and you actually do the research and the testing to find out what's going on and why, there's a lot more you can do for your health. And it just
so how does somebody get like this kind of test? What kind of test is it?
So, I mean, currently we're partnered up with a company that does it called Vibrant Health.
Okay.
They do a really, really, and it's, you know, it's not a cookie cutter approach. It kind of depends on your symptoms.
Yeah.
So if you're having like GI issues,
we
can do like something called a gut zoomer. Also check for intestinal permeability.
What do GI issues like look like?
Bloating. So great question. That could be a whole hour talk.
Yeah.
But the reason
3-minute rundown.
the reason why is
because
because
have to have you back for.
we now know that there's something called a gut brain axis and a gut heart axis. Okay. So there's certain things we can do to our GI tract and certain things we can consume that are going to affect our heart and our brain like significantly. And the best way to think about that is we have trillions of cells in our GI tract, bacteria that we live with, and they outnumber our cells in our body by like 10 to 1.
Wow.
So it's almost crazy. Like we live with them, or do they live with us, right?
Wow.
Maybe we're the host.
Yeah.
So if we're not keeping them happy, then they start to get out of whack, and then our body reacts with inflammation.
Okay.
And it can affect the heart and the brain and our whole body. So
that inflammation in the GI tract appears as you're saying bloating. What else?
So that would be so specifically in the GI tract, you know, bloating, upset stomach, IBS type of symptoms where your bowel like you know, your bowel movements are very irregular.
Yeah.
Those are things that people would notice, right away.
Mm-hmm.
But as those problems kind of continue, that's when they start to affect your whole body. And so if you have leaky gut, that means now your intestinal permeability or your barrier has kind of opened up and has holes in it. And so now heavy metals can get in, plastics can get in, start depositing throughout your whole body.
Right.
And now you get the brain fog, the fatigue. You can get like it can deposit in your testicles, your testosterone can go down. It can actually cross the placental barrier. And so it can affect kids.
Wow.
And their development. So it's a big deal. It's a lot that we're learning. And if you start getting those tests done, you can kind of see what you need to do.
Right. So like, is internal medicine like kind of like on the rise now because I feel like all these supplements, all this stuff around like gut health, everything is just like so important, with biohacking and all this stuff, like Joe Rogan, all these other like top like health experts or what is it, Gary Brecka, like it's just like blowing up around all this huge stuff. So like, is internal medicine like kind of the core of that? Because like
kind of, I think in just Western medicine and internal medicine and what we're learning in med school and then we apply it to our healthcare system is a very reactive system. It's not as focused on prevention.
No,
we have a lot of measures now that we can test for, like apolipoprotein Bs and omega-6s and IL-6 and TNF alphas, which are like different inflammatory markers that can indicate poor cardiovascular outcomes, right?
Okay.
And so these are things that we're now implementing into our testing. And there's so much more that we can do, aside from that. But the problem with healthcare in general is it's very reactive. It's very, let's fix the disease once it happens, And so internal medicine, the way I was taught it initially in med school is, here's the list of diseases, here's how to treat them, here's the pharmacology behind it. And if somebody needs to be on 40 medications for these 20 issues, no problem. But the more you practice, 10 years of practicing in hospitals, I realized I don't think that's really the right way to do it.
What is the right way?
Right way is like kind of getting behind the underlying causes and seeing if we can prevent diabetes. So just to give you an example, in 1960, about 13% of adult Americans were obese, and that's calculated by a BMI of over 30. Okay, so 13% then to 43% in 2020.
That's crazy.
So
I think
more than triple.
50% is obese.
Yeah, it's
over
like
75% overweight.
It's pretty crazy. So if you think about that, we're doing something wrong.
Right.
Right. And if we're putting people, now we have 43% of Americans who are obese with comorbidities and chronic medical issues. And we're putting all of them on medications. Is that really getting to the underlying cause? Like why are we having 3 times more obese people than we did in the 1960s? Something has to be happening.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to go back to the drawing board and say, what are we putting in our bodies? And the answer is a lot of processed crap.
Right.
There's so much. It's almost impossible to go somewhere and eat out and have something that's not going to be like toxic to your body. Right.
Yeah.
Seed oils and omega-6s that come out of that are just one example. But so I think it's kind of time to go backwards a little bit and say, what can we do to prevent some of these diseases as opposed to just trying to treat them all? Because it's really cumbersome to try to do that.
Yeah. I know RFK Jr., he's really a big proponent.
That's some good ideas.
Yeah. He's got some good ideas. I think it would be crazy if he can execute half of them, Right. I think it'll be.
We're so far behind. like those dyes, like yellow 5 and yellow 6s, they literally cause tumors in animals,
right?
And they cause hyperactivity in children, and like every other kid has ADD, and it's like, I wonder why, right?
And they're banned in like so many other countries.
They're banned in so many countries.
You're like, what?
In Europe, in the EU, there has to be like a huge, like those massive like cigarette logos.
Yeah.
That says like this can cause all these problems. But here it's like there's nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, we need to at least be with our third world countries that do certain things.
I try to not eat processed foods, but there is one processed food that I just like, I get a craving for from childhood, the flaming hot fries. I don't know if it's got red number 5
Cheetos.
The worst thing in the world for you. I'm like, I don't care how bad these are. I'm going to eat them every so often.
It's your one vice.
that and occasional like Sour Patch Kids or something like that. But I'm like, but most of the time I try not to eat processed foods. I tell one of my friends was hitting me up. He's like, hey, like, what's your secret? I'm like, no processed foods. I drink black coffee, water. That's it.
That's
like,
great. Yeah.
Like it's like high protein, high fruit, like high vegetable. I try to eat like either fruits and vegetables, good source of protein, nothing complex, just very simple diets, like, and then work out,
Exactly.
Like,
if you can replace processed foods with plant-based fiber, it's like the biggest thing you can do for your health.
Yeah, just simply cutting processed foods, cutting processed like sugar. My mom never, like, we didn't have money, so my mom like cooked all the meals, so that I think I just grew up that way naturally. But then she also never allowed us to have sugar like in anything. Like she wouldn't even give us like sweet cereal. It was like if we were lucky, she would mix like Honey Nut Cheerios with like regular Cheerios. So it was like half and half, like diluted. But I just got used to like not eating sugar and then seeing the like feeling the effects of it. Cause like when you actually like can cleanse like processed sugar out of your diet and then you introduce it, it's like you feel sluggish, slow, your brain, like you notice the effects so much more. But then when you're just addicted to it, like you don't even know that your body's addicted to this drug essentially, right? And like now you're craving it and you're not even aware that you're addicted to something and it has control over you, just like constantly consume it in everything that you eat. So it sounds like just passion for health and, you know, turning around your own health has been the leading impact in like why you decided to start Zeus Men's Health. So I guess for like the consumer out there who might be listening, what exactly do you like? What do you do? What can you help people with, like to the end consumer? Like, go ahead and give like your 3-minute pitch of like who you are, who you help, and how you help them.
Yeah, definitely. No, so I think, you know, the holistic approach starts from how patients feel. I think you'll see a lot of advertisements for like Hims and different companies that basically are giving you the cookie cutter approach, right? Which is basically like, okay, everybody who has low testosterone is going to get testosterone, and everybody who has erectile dysfunction is going to get phosphodiester inhibitor like sildenafil or VAG or whatever. But for us, it's more about spending the initial period of time, you know, on the initial consult to really get to know the patient. What's the person's life like? You know, what's their social situation like? How's their marriage? You know, these things all matter, right? When you talk about somebody, for example, with erectile dysfunction, one of the biggest things is you have to ask, like, did this happen out of the blue or did this happen gradually over time, right? And so if it's something that happened out of the blue, a lot of times it's just something like stress. It could be work, it could be relationships. And if you're not asking these questions and you're not getting to the root cause analysis of what somebody's issues are, and you're just prescribing them a medication, then they're better off, you know, not even seeing a physician, right?
Right.
So what you're getting with me is it's a personalized approach. It's about establishing a relationship, figuring out exactly what's happening with someone's health from top to bottom, and then seeing, you know, what can we optimize in terms of their preferences too, right? So some people, a great example I give is some people really care about their hair, and some people really care about their muscle mass. Okay, and so the treatment for those two patients, from the standpoint of testosterone, are very different, right?
Right.
If you blast somebody who has a full head of hair and cares more about that, and say, for example, fertility is really important, they're trying to conceive, and you just give them testosterone, well, now they might lose their hair, they might lose their fertility, right?
Right.
And they might build some muscle, but that's not what they wanted.
Right.
And so it's a matter of asking people like what they want. It's not about treating a number, you know?
Right. So there's some serious like altercations or complications that can arise from the wrong dosing or the wrong provider possibly.
Exactly. And it's so important that everybody's story is unique, you know?
Right.
And that's where the physician part of it comes in. And it's not just a business, or it's not just a subscription where you're signing up for something that you know, probably won't ever talk to the doctor again, and you won't get any, you know, adjustments of your doses or follow-ups or, you know, repeat labs. That's what I think a lot of other companies are doing. And they might have been able to scale a lot faster because of that, maybe because they're not giving the personalized approach. But for us, it's all about the patient. That's why I went into medicine, right?
Right.
To help people. If I wanted to go into business, I would have just went into business. So
right. Yeah.
It's important to me.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, it's crazy how many people don't think that way. And, you know, they let price be the only like determining factor. There's like, oh, I want TRT. It's like the thing that everyone's doing. So like, what's the cheapest, right?
Exactly.
And it's like they don't even know like all the complications that can come from like that kind of thinking. And we do a lot of weight loss. Like TRT is one of the newer things that we've been working with. But in weight loss, like we've seen it. Like we've been doing that for like over 2 years now, and like people get all these adverse effects from these like cheap providers because they're just prescribing like generic doses to just anybody. They're getting like Ozempic butt, hair loss, you know, they're losing muscle mass. It's like crazy, and people don't always think of that. They're just so like short-sighted. So
it's so important to do, especially with the weight loss medications, like to do it right is especially in the beginning. People go too high on the doses, they end up with the Ozempic face, or they get really bad nausea. We've had actually 0 major adverse side effects because we always go up gradually, always following up with the patients really closely. We're one of the only clinics to provide Zolfran with every subscription.
Okay.
So patients always have nausea medications if they have nausea available right away.
Right.
You're not scrambling to try to, get a prescription for it. When you have nausea, you're not trying to like drive to the pharmacy. You're vomiting, right?
Right.
So we think ahead in terms of everything that we do. It's a lot. You're getting more than just a subscription. You're getting a relationship with a provider.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
important.
huge. So why do people get hair loss from like these weight loss treatments or from even from TRTs?
Yeah, so the TRT especially, if it's not done right, so there's like a fine range that you can find where the hair loss is mitigated. But if you're going too high on the testosterone and you're not watching it carefully, you can build some DHT, which is one way to think about it is like the bad testosterone. DHT gives you like it can give you acne or backne. It gives you hair loss. It gives you irritable mood swings. So we try to avoid the DHT. We actually do a natural DHT blocker with all our subscriptions. So we call it a TRT supplement.
Okay.
But it actually is saw palmetto, pygeum, and nettle root. So it's a combination of herbs that help decrease your DHT production. We include that in all our subscriptions for TRT.
Wow.
So patients are really happy with lack of side effects. They're not losing as much.
They don't have to worry.
They don't have to worry about it. And then we always recheck their estrogen levels to make sure that those are being managed properly. We check their LH, their FSH to make sure their pituitary is being managed properly. So very few people are doing all of that with testosterone, but that makes sure their side effects are kind of maintained and controlled.
Yeah. So by not monitoring the estrogen, is that how men like start to develop tits?
Gynecomastia,
right?
Gynecomastia, man boobs. Yep. Yeah. So nobody wants that.
No.
So that the estrogen,
they want the opposite of that.
Creep up if you're not being careful, and as soon as that happens, generally if it starts to be high, it's already too late. You're gonna have some fat tissue around your nipples already. Yeah. So you gotta be really careful with that.
Wow, that's crazy. Yep. Yeah, I would definitely not want to get on TRT and
you're like, what's the point? And I have man boobs.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's hilarious.
So then, with weight loss, like, and with people developing hair loss from weight loss medications, how do you guys combat that?
So a lot of things we could do. So first, TRT support that I was telling you about, those pills, those are the basically nature's way of doing it. Those are like herbal supplements that help. So most of my patients don't develop that. I have had some that have. It's just natural to get some DHT conversion. So we can do a medication like finasteride. Finasteride will help block that as well. We also have topical agents. Some people don't like the finasteride because it can rarely affect your libido.
Okay.
So then we have like a hair solution that has a finasteride in it, has minoxidil, has triamcinolone in it. And so it's something you just apply once a day, helps kind of reverse some of that. And actually some people end up with even thicker hair afterwards.
Wow.
So there's also a separate treatment for hair loss, like exosome treatment and PRP treatment we do in the clinic in Burbank too. So if somebody's more focused on their hair, we can treat them with that.
Yeah, I know there's FDA cleared hair loss laser. Have you seen that? The Folix by Luminous.
Okay.
Painless. Oh, well, they claim painless. Like you don't need any numbing or anything. So just feels like laser hair removal is what I've heard.
Very cool.
In
Is it Luminix?
Luminous, yeah.
Luminous?
Yeah,
Nice.
so the first FDA cleared. I haven't tried it yet. There's a couple clinics here in Orange County that have it, but I'm like, I should try it.
You still got a good head of hair.
yeah, for sure. I tried. I do the minoxidil drops, so try to prevent as much as I can because
preemptive. It's better it's better preemptive than reactive afterwards.
Definitely. So with all these prescriptions, I mean, all of these need to be prescribed, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do this right compliantly? Is there like legit script? Is it needed? How do you recommend it for other like entrepreneurs who might be looking to get in this space?
Great question. So I mean, you can run and operate your business or your medical practice without legit scripts, but when it starts to become something that you want to scale for advertisement, you basically have to have legit scripts.
Right.
So the reason you need it is because you can't make or you can't post Facebook ads or Google ads with the name of the medication in it, unless you're legit script certified.
Right.
And that's extremely important. So I mean, imagine you have an ad that's so vague and generic that somebody can't tell what it's for.
Yeah.
Which is basically all you can make. So you can say weight loss medications offered here, and no one's going to know what that means or what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And your competitors that can say that can say semaglutide offered, GLP-1s offered here are going to have a huge edge on you. So I think that's something that I'm doing kind of now after about a year of being in practice. I think that's something for new entrepreneurs, people starting their business, especially medical practice, they want to advertise for. I would say just get that started immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree too. As a marketer, it just makes it so much easier. If you go the telemedicine route and you want to be like a Hims, Row.co, some of these other bigger companies where you can just, purchase with the press of a button,
Right.
It's like absolutely needed.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing more traditional brick and mortar where it's like an asynchronous model where you can come in, meet the provider, and then they can determine if they're going to prescribe that to you, not as needed. Right. But yeah, if you want to do like a checkout, an e-commerce style website, like we won't even take on clients now if they're not legit script, just because it's like it's just way too much work.
Waste
for
your
us.
time and
it's like you're just going to spend way more time, way more effort marketing. It's just the cost of doing business now. Mm-hmm. What was that process going like for you, the legit script?
So initially, I had a marketing company I was working with that was quote unquote doing it for me. I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
That they were they said they were doing it for me, but a month later I checked in on it and they hadn't done anything for it. So this is a famous saying: if you want to get something done right, just do it yourself.
Yeah.
This is a good example of that. So I started looking into it myself, and there's a pretty big checklist with a lot of really nitpicky details that they want to have sorted out before you apply.
What are those things?
And a lot of these things have to do with the pharmacies you're using.
Okay.
So your pharmacies you're using also have to be legit script certified. It's really important. Your pharmacies have to be listed on your website, the ones that you're using. You have to be, there's something to do with the server. It has to be a public server that anybody can look and see who you are and who is registered to. It has to do with the domain. And so if you have a good developer, they can take care of that really easily for you. You have to have all the side effects listed for each medication on each child page that you have a checkout for.
Okay.
And then there's things with your e-commerce that has to be a certain criteria e-commerce has to meet.
Right.
Visa and your credit cards and things that are a little bit more technical that kind of the development team's helping me with. So
how'd you figure all this out?
There's a check. So when you're going to apply, it's one of the first things that comes up. It's a big checklist that says make sure you have all these things done before you apply, or there's a good chance you'll get rejected. Okay. And so if you're like paying that much money to do it right. And for me, I got a new design team for my website, which is going really well.
Great.
So they're really quick. It was the holidays, so they took a little bit of time, but they've got most of it done now. So.
And then did you pay for the expedited fee?
I will. So I think once you apply, you kind of have that option.
Right.
It's like $2,500, totally worth it.
Yeah, I mean, when you start running, like you can scale that and make that revenue like very fast with the right content strategies, paid strategies.
I think they said something like once you pay that fee, they do the initial review within 2 to 3 days versus it could be in the queue for months.
Right. Yeah. No, I've literally seen people like do the application, pay for the application and not do the expedite, and they're like, it's been 3 months and we haven't heard anything. I'm like, that's crazy. Like I would have paid the 20.
And they've got a monopoly. They're the only company that can certify anything for these Google ads or Facebook ads. So they can kind of just do whatever they want.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So you have to kind of, be aggressive with them, or else, they can take their time.
Yeah, it's crazy what the monopoly they have on it, like the utilities companies that we have to deal with.
Right. Yeah.
So how'd you approach like setting up your telehealth business? So you kind of went from being internal medicine. What was your strategy? Like, what was your vision with it? And kind of how did you execute on like going from I'm a doctor practicing to launching like a telehealth company?
It was honestly, it was luck, because initially I was working in the hospital so much. I didn't have a lot of time for this. So it was like more of it was an idea, it was a passion, something I wanted to do. I was already helping a lot of my friends. Yeah. Friends and families where it started from. I'm like, you should try this, try that. And I was helping a lot of people get, really optimizing their health. And so that was okay. I was able to do that just from, being friends with people. But then working in the hospital and having a physical location and a physical practice address that you could meet patients at, and trying to juggle that together initially is probably very difficult. It could maybe compromise patient care if you're trying to run back and forth between a clinic and a hospital on the same day. So I thought telehealth is a good way to get people set by seeing them, and you can address most of their goals. You can see all their labs, you can review their charts, and then from there I realized I stopped working in the hospital recently for the most part, but I realized a hybrid model is kind of the way to go. So now I have a clinic in Burbank, West Hollywood, and whoever wants to come and see me, I would say it's probably 25% want to come in and see you. And you always give them the option. And then, which is great because you build a personal relationship when you meet somebody in person.
Yeah. On the TVs too.
Exactly. But I think since COVID happened, everyone's realizing that you can get almost everything out of a telehealth or a Zoom call. Yeah. And people are busy, and LA traffic is horrible. So I think most people are still opting for the telehealth platform.
Yeah, I'm sure the more saturated markets, like LA, New York.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A little easier.
I noticed here, like in Orange County, a lot of the clients, like they have the more like suburb areas have higher preference toward in clinic, and they stay a little bit longer. Like we're seeing anywhere from like a 6 to 12 month LTV for some of these weight loss. And then for telemedicine, like a 4 to 5 month.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So treatments versus more chronic treatments.
Well, they just seem to stay longer for the weight loss.
Retention-wise.
The retention wise, they just stay longer. And I would imagine it's just like that human touch, right? It's like you're actually meeting with somebody. It's like, do you feel more connected to somebody that you've only met through the internet, or do you feel more connected to somebody who's actually like met in person?
I always personally, I like to meet them at least once, even if it's not the first. Sometimes the first telehealth call can be like an intro call, getting to know each other, like getting to know kind of where their health is at. But even if it's a follow up, if I get to meet them, it's always nicer.
Yeah.
It's just that the human touch is always good.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So with that jump, like what was just something you wish you would have known before you started going down this rabbit hole of entrepreneurship, and particularly like telehealth? Yeah,
kind of how good help is hard to find is really important. Who you choose to work with you. I mean, it's a reflection of your work ethic and who you are. So if you have a team that's kind of maybe a little bit slower or unresponsive or poor correspondence, I mean, that's a reflection on you then, right? Because a lot of times, and this applies to the pharmacies I work with, to the advertising company I worked with before, as well as even my development team, right? If I have a pharmacy that's delivering something late for any reason, right, that reflects poorly on me.
Right.
And so I think the most important thing early on, and now I've gotten to the point where I trust everyone I'm working with, and it's flowing seamlessly, but that took almost a year.
Yeah. And
so if you can, in the beginning, have a little bit better radar on who has more of the values that you have, and they align better. And if you have a good work ethic, then you want to have somebody else with a good work ethic. I think that the difficulty in medicine is that one of the hardest things about medicine is that we're held to such a high standard. I mean, if we make a mistake, someone can like die. I think get really bad reaction. Right.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of other industries, and we have like a governing body, we have like an FDA, we have a pharmacy board, we have a medical board, we have all these people that are watching us to make sure that we're fit to practice, right? But then you have like companies, a lot of times that don't have any governing bodies, that don't have somebody that's watching them for example, say advertising company that goes to you and says that they're working on your logistics application when they didn't do anything. Right. There's no accountability, and so it's hard to kind of find that. But that's kind of the hardest part I've had to deal with for this practice.
Yeah. So finding, it sounds like, good fits for like either partnerships with external operators or internally with staff members, just finding people that align with your core values, which is hard work,
exactly,
honesty, integrity. And that's the hardest part with scaling. So with that, like, what are some of the things that you look for now that like you weren't even looking for before? Like, for example, with like a marketing company. So I mean, for me, it's if I feel like somebody's hands-on, because I'm pretty hands-on. I'm a little bit more aggressive. If I have an idea and I want something like to happen, I'm like, let's do this and let's make it happen, right? Yeah. But if I'm seeing somebody that seems kind of fake, or like they're like, oh, let's do that, or they're going to promise you the world, but then kind of like are starting to under deliver. I think what I may have done in the past is give that person like maybe several chances, or let them waste maybe a couple months of my time. But the problem is, what you eventually realize is that those months that were wasted, you could have spent scaling, you could have spent maybe on your patients, you could have spent on more patients, or building more like new relationships, because that time that's wasted, you can't get it back. You can't. And so once you start to see a decline in performance, or like some sort of irregularities or inconsistencies with what you're being promised, what you're being given, it's better to just pull the plug and find somebody else. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things I see in like successful entrepreneurs. And like, you got to keep in mind, like, I interview thousands of entrepreneurs a year. Like we get literally like thousands of leads, and I try to handle at least like a lot of that front end conversation with them, because like pretty early, like I can understand their business and like see what the things are. And then I can tell my team like, hey, look, these are the things we need to fix. And then they'll all be like specialists and like go and do those particular things. But it takes me kind of understanding, one, what it takes to be a business owner, like what the business owner actually cares about, which is like making money and being profitable, how they make that money. And then a couple other things that like you wouldn't get from a marketing person, right? You hire a social media manager, she's not thinking like a business owner, right? You hire somebody to build a funnel, like they're not thinking like a business person, right? So that's where I think like with me, it's like I come in, I really understand things from a business perspective and being a business owner. And then I can like hand that off to my team. But you know, we've interviewed literally thousands of business owners, and we see it. It's like the ones who show up, they're willing to roll up their sleeves, they win. The ones who execute fast, like they win. And it's like, it's one of the most frustrating things too for me is like, cause I can see like what the issue is. And I'm like, I can solve this. Right. And then a person's like, well, let me give this person another chance. And like, let's wait. They're offering us a free month. I'm like, you had 3 months with them and now they're offering you a free month and you think something's going to change. Like, that they weren't doing until you brought it to their attention. You know, it's like, I can understand, obviously mistakes happen. Like there's no marketing plan that's going to be perfect. Like, you know, we take on clients and like, just there's problems that we're not even aware of that we're like, oh crap, we got to fix this. Right. But it's like, are they showing up? Are they like expressing those things? Are they like proactive in those things? And it's just crazy the difference between like entrepreneurs and like within 5 minutes, I can like have a conversation and know I'm like, yeah, I don't like yesterday I had a call with a guy and I was like, I just don't think this is going to be a good fit. I wish you the best of luck, but I'm just not choosing to take this on right now. And it's like, I can see as the marketing person too, like who's going to win and who's not. And I'm not even taking on clients. I'm like, I don't care what your budget is. Like if I don't think you are the right person that can work with us and combining those two forces, we're going to win. I'm like, I just don't want to even like deal with that. Yeah. It's not worth the money anymore to me or the headache.
You have a better radar.
Yeah,
me, apparently.
Yeah, for sure. Better radar for sure. I mean, that's something so many like business owners I think should probably do. It's just like, you should interview every marketing company, ask them, pull as much, because like the marketers, they know. Like they know everything about
marketers, that's what they do. So they're going to market themselves better than anybody else, right?
Yeah, and they see it like from, let's say like you are a very successful business. Maybe you're doing like 8 figures, like 10 mil a year, right? Sure. But you only have that limited perspective, like of what's worked for you, right? A marketing agency like myself, or somebody who's like consulted on hundreds of businesses now, it's like, I've seen that and, you know, hundreds of other use cases. So it's like so much more. Just like for you with like medicine, it's like you might have seen like your own internal medicine and like what worked for you, but then now like you're actually noticing this at scale, these things, these similarities, and you can like start to connect dots and like notice like trends and patterns and like, okay, this is actually what is most likely the case. And so like, you know, yeah, just getting close with the marketing companies is so important and undervalued, especially when you're just getting started off. It might cost you, it might eat up some of your profits, but it also increases your likelihood of success drastically. So it's like, do you want to risk like, cool, you might not profit as much up front the first 6 months, year, maybe 2 years, right? But like you have something that works now. Right. And now you can duplicate this and scale it on your own. And the business owners that get that, they're willing to work with us and invest. And then they just, you know, they're like, hey, we're going to bring this in-house. Like, and we'll help them either develop the systems, help them hire the team. We'll help them in that transition. But now they're like, hey, we're going to do this more profitably. But like you guys were instrumental to like help us build out those internal systems. And yeah, it's crazy. Just like the level of, entrepreneur like at scale that I see. Like
I can tell though, because I mean, even when we talked initially, like, you know, it was like an initial call. We weren't working together or anything, but you immediately diagnosed the legit skip issue. You kind of followed up on it. You had the, you know, the foresight to understand what was going on, and you were right. And now I have a solution to it. So, I mean, someone that has like, you know, can make a plan or can make a diagnosis, can make a plan, can execute it, and can follow up. Isn't that kind of what everybody wants? I mean, that's what people want from a physician. But that's also what people want from anybody, right? Yeah,
so exactly.
As opposed to the original company I worked with, where all they wanted to do was make sure I sign up and make sure I, you know, they kind of were, obviously you want me to sign up. What I'm saying is that they were focusing on just like bringing down the price to the point where, you know, enticing me and saying today's the last off deal day for this offer. No matter what.
Red flag.
You know, like
red flag.
Like oh, the price has dropped 1/3 in the last like 2 minutes. And if you walk now, we're not gonna be able to offer this to you again, but you have to wire us some money now. And then ghost me. And it's like, you know, you can kind of sense that if you're smart about it. And that's what I'm gonna do. You know,
I have I've hired lots of closers, and I'm like, they're always like, can I because like they make money like on the front end, right? And then it's like, well, we have to retain them on the back end. So they're like, well, can I get them to pay more up front? I'm like, no. Like, because I don't like, it's not about you making more money. It's about them like staying with us. And the more we charge them up front, the more demand they're going to have. Like, I want them to stay with us and get results. Right. And also it's like, if we're charging them 3 times the price up front, just so you can get a bigger paycheck, like they're going to have to put 3 times the amount of money into ads. And like most businesses just can't afford that. It's like you're asking them for like $45,000 of like upfront in month 1. It's like some businesses can afford that. We have clients that can, but a lot of businesses, like they need that spread out over the course of the next like 3 to 6 months. And that's going to be their lifeline. Right. So it just doesn't make sense. That's why I like to, like, I really like, I went through a phase where I didn't see some of the clients like that we brought on, and we just had like front end strategists. Hey, do they check these boxes? And now I'm just like, no, like I want to meet every client. So even if I don't like close them or like somebody else does, it's like my team schedules a call with me, like an audit. And now I get to audit their business. And it's like, if I don't think that, I'm just like, hey, like, I just don't think we're going to get you, like, we're the right, it could be like a fit, like culturally, or it's like, we might not be the right person for you. I'm just going to refund your money and like, we'll just go separate ways, because it's just not even worth the headache than just like, you know, caring about like a couple $1,000. It's like really just not worth it. My peace of mind is just too valuable now.
For sure. That's cool.
So how did you handle like statewide compliance? I know you're based here in California. That's a big issue in the telehealth space. Sure.
So we live in the most regulated and governed state by far in the U.S. When it comes to, especially the pharmacies. So the
California.
Yeah, right. Oh, literally. So, I mean, I was just telling you earlier, but I was at this conference in Las Vegas last month, the A4M conference, and they had this huge convention hall with, you know, almost 100 pharmacies in there.
A4M, what was that for those that don't know?
So it stands for American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. And so it's a lot of, you know, I don't know if you know Dave Asprey, and a lot of really great speakers were there.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, out of the 100 pharmacies that they had that set up, you know, booths to try to get business, only 2 of them were currently delivering sterile injectable medications in California. So it's a huge barrier. So you can imagine, you know, one of the best things you could do for your patients is having a lot of options, right? So the more options you have, the better you can make sure, you know, ensure timely delivery. You can ensure that the quality of the product is absolutely the highest. But California sometimes makes it difficult because there's so many rules for these pharmacies to not be able to ship into California. Luckily, you know, this took probably like, not probably, this took like several months to get to the point where I'm comfortable with enough pharmacies, you know, to get the medications into California, to get the medications to my patients. But that was like by far the hardest part. So the good news is when I'm, you know, getting ready to go to other states, I got an Arizona license currently pending, and we're going to scale from there. Whatever we're doing in California it should definitely correspond with compliance in other states because it's the highest regulated, right?
Yeah.
Looking forward to
I think there's only one state that doesn't allow California to ship to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think
there's like
Wyoming. It's a random state.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what?
Like, no, I've
the opposite of everyone else. Like somebody told me that. I was like, no, I think you got it backwards. They're like, no,
like,
we literally
don't
can't.
want.
I'm like, wait, what? You can't, if you're in California, you can't ship there. They're like, yeah. Like, yeah, it's like one random state. But yeah, normally it's like California is the one state most of these businesses like don't have. New York, I know, is pretty regulated. New Jersey, another highly regulated one. But those are like the 3 states that generally are like pretty hard to get.
Definitely
take patients in, but it's still just a massive market, right? Even if like you're limited to some other, you know, let's say you can't do California, New York, or New Jersey, it's like, well, there's 47 other states you can ship to that are huge.
And if you figure it out here, you're pretty much good. I mean, like it would be easier in other states for sure.
Yeah. So where can you direct like somebody who wants to get started in the telehealth space, like to find the pharmacies or partners, or like to go through that process?
So you gotta do what I did. You gotta call around. You gotta call every pharmacy in your neighborhood, in your area. Start from there. Make the radius bigger.
And what are they asking for? Are you 503B, 503A?
503A or 503B. If it's 503B, they can ship to your clinic. If it's 503A, they can go straight to the patient. Either one's fine. It kind of depends on patient preference too. If a patient would rather come to the clinic and pick it up from you, that could be 503A or B. The 503A can go to the patient directly.
And 503B means that they're actually FDA cleared, or
FDA cleared, correct. And that also means that then they can go straight to the clinic and they don't have to be under a specific prescription for a patient. So now the clinic is responsible for then dispensing the medication. Okay. So yeah, we obviously partner with both, but yeah, the way to do it is you really have to kind of call around and talk to hundreds of pharmacies. It takes a long time. You build this long spreadsheet out, and most of the spreadsheets are like X, no. Either they can't do it or there's something you don't like about it, right? Yeah. They might have their delivery time might be too long. You know, you don't want an unhappy customer or a patient, if they're getting their medication like later than a week, for me, that's already too long, right?
Right.
So you really narrow it down to pharmacies that you really want to work with, and then there's the quality of the product, right? I mean, if you have, for me, it's a 2-strike system. If anybody has a problem with the medication or something happens with it, it's done. I'm not going to use that pharmacy anymore.
Right. And how do you check that? Do they have like public reviews or?
So there's going to be, I'm talking more about like my patients. If my patient uses a medication and they have any issue with like efficacy.
Okay. So this is going to be after you've selected them.
Like last time I got it, it worked a little stronger. It doesn't seem as strong this time. Like,
right.
To me, like that's enough to not use them anymore.
Right.
Because there's enough options to not have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of, like I said, I started off in the cannabis industry. Same thing. A lot of manufacturers would just like cut products, dilute them, and it's like, dude, what the heck? Like,
why?
Why? Yeah, it's like this is a drug. People are coming back for this. If you're gonna cut it now, it's not the same, and you're gonna have So then to get started, you have the biggest challenge is finding the pharmacies.
Finding the pharmacies, and then building out your e-commerce, because you have to make sure that if somebody's has a subscription with you, they need to be able to go into their portal, review their subscriptions, change it, cancel it, put it on hold. If you don't have a way that they can do that will functions properly, then it's not going to work. The whole thing is going to break.
Right.
And then communication. So you have to make sure you can be able to safely and effectively communicate with your patients, whether that's email or so I use High Level, which is a HIPAA compliant.
Yeah, High Level HIPAA compliant. Yep.
So you can use that for your telehealth. You can use it for your emails. You can make email newsletters. You can have different coupon codes and deals for different holidays and things like that. So I use that for almost everything. But you need to be able to actually do your telehealth consults in a HIPAA compliant manner for it to be okay with California's laws, right? Otherwise, if you're using FaceTime, you can't do that because it's not allowed. Yeah, it has to be through HIPAA compliant.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing. And I know like there's challenges with the e-commerce stores, like how they can be HIPAA compliant. I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard some people say they can make Shopify HIPAA compliant depending on like how they set it up. But I've also heard some businesses say like, no, they can't. Okay. That's not our specialty. Like ours is obviously just getting patients, but HIPAA compliance is
does
big.
ask you about all that.
Right.
They
They're going to check.
Telehealth, if you're using High Level, you have to indicate that you're using High Level. They want your number for High Level. They're going to do their back end research to make sure you're doing it properly. Yeah. So they're really good.
So here's a hack to get all the pharmacies that you need is I would just literally like hire a $5 per hour VA and just have them like manually pull a list, create all the numbers, and then they can just like rip the phones and ask all the questions that you need to ask them. Yeah. And then they can just do that like on background autopilot. They could probably in a week scrape every pharmacy.
Figure out exactly
country,
which that would be
exactly
amazing,
who's needed. And it costs you literally like $200 to like have a VA do that. So
I'm gonna ask you about that later.
I would literally like you're just gonna go on onlinejobs.ph, hire the $5 per hour Filipino VA. They're like super good workers. Nice. They show up, they work hard. Give them, hey, I need you to pull a list of every pharmacy. I need every phone number. I need to know this. What's the question?
What injectable sterile medications can be shipped into California? That's
right.
It.
That's it.
And that's the biggest barrier.
Right. Okay. And then what? None of the other states, because if they can ship to California, then they can ship pretty much 100%. Everywhere else.
Yeah. So you can pretty much use those. Yeah. And so then you build up. You build out pricing. You build out kind of delivery time. So some will say like 14 business days. That's not going to
right.
Enough, right. So you narrow it down to who can deliver it fast, who's priced reasonably, and who can actually get it into California.
Yeah. So
and you do like 503A.
How fast can they ship it? Yeah. Yeah.
And that's pretty much.
And that's something. Yeah, I see so many people like.
There's different dosing options. Like some people only do 2 milligrams or 10 milligrams or 5 milligrams. So indicate all that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing. Like I notice a lot of entrepreneurs not necessarily doing is like leveraging like VAs or assistants or just other people, right? One of my first business coaches, he's like, I need you to write down everything that you do in a week, like everything. If you wash your clothes, if you shower, if you eat, if you cook, like everything you need to that you do in a week, write it down, how much time you spend doing that activity. And then I need you to audit those and you need to offload everything that you can offload. You write a price tag next to it. How much is it worth to you, right? Some tasks are only $25 hour tasks. Some tasks are $100 hour. Some are very high level. For me, it's like the strategy is like the highest level thing that I can do is like I can look at a business. I can analyze their social media. I can analyze their website. I can analyze a lot and be like, okay, we need to fix these landing pages. They actually have really good content. So instead of putting the budget toward content, we're actually going to put more budget towards split testing more landing pages. And like, I can really look at a high level and see like, what are the main things that need to get done. Very few people can do that, right? Like really look at a business holistically and see like what the biggest bottlenecks are. So that's why I like to now do all that front end stuff. But when it comes to like building a landing page, I don't need to do that. I actually don't do any of the work. It's like, I just have a team that does all of it. But like, yeah, that would like, as you're getting started in business, like you have to really get clear on your time. And it's like, maybe you want to make $250 an hour, maybe you want to work $500 an hour, whatever that number is that you want to make, like you need to know what that is. Maybe you can reverse engineer exactly how much you want to make in a month. So if it's like, I want to make 100K a month, well, reverse engineer that. There's 160 working hours roughly in a month. So what is that hourly rate? That's how you're going to calculate that. And then you need to ask yourself, like, is this activity that I'm doing worth that rate? Right. So if you're like calling up pharmacies, like you could literally have somebody for $5 an hour do that through your Go High Level. They don't even have to be in the country. They can rip the phones like through another country from a VoIP number and give you all the answers, and then find 10 pharmacies that fit your criteria. And you were able to build an entire landing page or website or something else that only you can do. Right. And so that's like just so important for business owners to do, is like really audit their time and like see what's worth it, what they can offload. Have you read the book Buy Back Your Time?
I have not.
That's a great book by Dan Martell. Yeah. That like literally changes how you look at time. I think the biggest takeaway I got from that was like, a job done 80% by somebody else is 100% awesome. Essentially is like, how can I get somebody to get 80% of this done? I only need to sign off on the finishing 10%. Maybe I start off the project, do the first 10%, say, hey, here's my vision with this, go do this, bring it to me when you've like pretty much completed it. And then they'll bring it to you and they're like, I'm done. And then now you just comb through it, finalize and be like, yeah, this is good. And it's like, now you essentially bought back so much of your time by just offloading the right tasks to other people.
Makes sense. I love it. Yeah, I think in the healthcare system setting, like or in a hospital setting, you have your nurses, you have your PTs, your OTs, you have like discharge planners. Everyone has like delegated a task. But then when you start your own business, it's like you're kind of
the systems aren't there,
And so you kind of, what you're saying, which makes a lot of sense. Now it's crazy how AI is able to do a lot of this kind of stuff. But looking and seeing what's more valuable, delegating your own time is super important. Definitely.
Yeah, AI is gonna, already changing so much. I'm just like, it's insane. What I'm building an AI like masterclass right now, and it's just like it's crazy. Like for content creators, just like what they can do, like how much time they had to just spend like looking at content, creating content, and now like we have AI that can just like do like 90% of the work. All you need to do is like pull out your camera and just film, and it's like, that's so cool. Yeah, it's wild. So to wrap things up around like just the overall operations of like the telehealth business, like what tech stack are you using? What plugins? Kind of walk us through like everything, like apps. I know you said Go High Level, but what else are you using other than?
So the website is WordPress. So WordPress, then I use WooCommerce for my e-commerce.
Okay.
There's a couple plugins like the Trust Index and the Google reviews and kind of some things to make it pop. And then is that kind of what the question is? Yeah,
exactly. Anything to integrate the pharmacies and
if I was gonna, so pharmacy wise, LifeFile. So LifeFile is going to be your prescribing mecca. You just basically just go there and you can log into each different pharmacy that you're using. Saves all your patient profiles. It saves their last couple of medications. You can set up refills through it too. And they'll make sure that it gets fulfilled on time. So I love the LifeFile app. And then Practice Ally is the EMR I use, which I can do separately controlled substances through if I need to. Testosterone is a controlled substance, so I usually use that for that. So basically everything's electronic now. You're not sending people written prescriptions anymore or triplicates. And those days you can still do that, but LifeFile and Practice Ally and all these EMRs now have a really integrated e-prescribing option now. So I kind of use that for that. So it's a couple. I try to make it as not as many, like not having too many different systems at the same time. So I like how Practice Ally uses an EMR mixed with the e-scribing option. But then LifeFile is kind of more for the pharmacies I'm partnered with for everything else.
And that's, so when you get a new pharmacy partner, you input their information in there, and then is that where the patient goes to?
I only pick pharmacies that have LifeFile.
Oh, okay.
So they have to have it just because it's the best way to make sure that people are getting their refills for me. I mean, I know that I know that system so well now that it saves your medications and it sets refills. So I know everyone's gonna get their medications on time. and it's just like such a good system.
So that's like the MIS system pretty much for the pharmacy refills.
I think so, yeah. And and enough pharmacies have it now. Like I'd say, I don't know, somewhere between 70-80% of pharmacies have it, to the point there's no reason to use someone that doesn't, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's big then in that criteria for your VA. Make sure they have that.
Make sure you have lifestyle checker.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
So I know we kind of discussed like some of the marketing issues, finding a good partner. What is the like strategy that you're kind of taking for marketing, or, you know, what was your like, maybe like, actually, let's go back before that. What did you think of marketing, and like, what was your understanding of marketing like when you started, and like now, how do you look at marketing now that you have like a year under your belt and kind of been through sounds like some pretty painstaking marketing partners?
Yeah, just going to be, I mean, definitely a little bit more careful with, you know, what route I go, and always do my due diligence before I sign up with anybody. And that's not even the marketing. That has to do with the development of the website, and anyone else I'm working with the SEO agency too, which I really carefully, you know, made sure that they're a good company for me. But so for the marketing standpoint, I think I had like, everyone has their idea in their head of what it's going to be like. And then there's like the reality, like Instagram versus reality, we say. And so I think the ads that I was seeing from some competitors, or not even competitors, some other companies that are doing really cool ads, were this really, you know, unique or interesting content that really catches your eye and makes you click on it, right? And something that's gonna be different or unique, right? And so what I was seeing from the company that I chose was very generic, almost like lo-fi, like not even high resolution images.
Yeah, just
where
like
I was just like,
stock
Canva. Who would like? I wouldn't click on that, right?
Right.
And I think going through, one thing you know mentioned is we spend like 2 hours a day going through our feed. Yeah. On average.
Yeah. 2 hours and 20 minutes a day scrolling mindlessly.
Exactly. And so Instagram knows me well. So they're giving me all of my men's health, you know, competitors in there. They're giving me all of my functional health stuff. And so I'm looking at how creative people are with their content in terms of, you know, kind of like what we're doing right now, but even more, you know, different options and different things people are doing, that I was thinking more along the lines of something more creative. Like someone that's willing to work with me and say, you know what, here's the strengths that you have. Let's optimize these. Let's enhance them into something that would catch somebody's eye and you know, bring you in a new patient. Yeah, content is so important. I don't think people like understand it. Actually, one of my friends, and he does some consulting on some of our like bigger like spending clients, but he manages about $2 million a month in ad spend. Wow. And previously you needed this media buyer, right? Who would like do all these different split tests. Like they were pretty much a statistician, like looking at all these different stats and like segmenting things, creating different audiences. And that was a very valuable skill. Now media buyers, I think, are going to be replaced within the next like 12 to like 24 months. Because the AI on these platforms have gotten so advanced. And where does it come from? Well, it's coming from the privacy, right? iOS 14.5. That was a big update. Like that fucked up marketing, right? People were like, now all this off-platform content or off-platform analytics that we got, we're no longer getting that, right? Right. So marketers immediately, like overnight, lost tons of data that they were getting. Like it and most of these marketers, they were also still optimizing for these old ad campaigns, right? These old strategies. And now, like, I got lucky, I think, because I came into like the whole like online digital marketing space like around like 2021. Like I was very passionate about marketing the whole time, like years before that, with my like offline businesses, you know, in the cannabis space. So I always studied marketing, persuasion, psychology. And so now it was just like learning how to like integrate it online. But coming in after all this stuff, it was like I never understood like the old way of doing it. So I was, I think, able to learn the right way of doing it from the start, which is a content first approach, right? These platforms, like with my friend who spends $2 million a month on one single business, he doesn't even segment anything based off of like audiences. Like he's not like most people like, oh, well, I want to target earners or like all these things, right? And they think like that's what's going to get them. It's just like telling Facebook, like, I want people that make over 100K and all this thing. And Facebook's actually eliminating all these targeting things. Like, so Facebook's slowly starting to eliminate all targeting completely because I'm not entirely sure. I think they've had a lot of like lawsuits of like targeting, you know,
overweight people or poor people or all these different things. So they're actually eliminating all the targeting. So how do you get in front of the right audience? Well, your content, right? So my friend who's spending $2 million a year on, actually it's a direct competitor with this company. I won't mention it, but he's spending $2 million a month on ads for the direct competitor of like this shirt company.
Oh, wow.
And they segment all their campaigns based off of the color of the shirt, right? You're wearing a black shirt. So it's like, they're like, well, he likes black shirts. So I'm going to show him more black shirts in the ads, right? And people who buy white shirts, they're more likely to see white shirts in their ads because that's exactly how the AI looks at it. It's like, hey, I've noticed all these, they have 52,000 points of preference on each user on average, right? You're a high consumer, I'm a high consumer of content. So it's going to be probably even more for people like us, but the average consumer, they have 52,000 points of preference. So they're noticing like, what color shirts are you buying? What content are you consuming? So for you, you're all about men's health, right? Or, your consumer, they might find out they have like an IBS issue or leaky gut. And now they're starting to scroll through all this content. They're seeing that. You think they're going to stop on some random looking like static ad that looks ghetto that anybody can pull up and like create themselves on Canva from like a free app? No, it's like, they're going to see something like what you and I are creating right now, which is like educational content, scroll stopping content. And that's the push. That's where like content, now the right content will win. And we've seen it like countless times. I mean, we have single videos that have literally generated like $500,000 in revenue, like have signed up thousands of patients from one single video. And now, and when you look at it like that, is like, oh, okay, like I know the game. I need to invest heavily in content. And then also the right marketing systems, automations, like those are very important. But like the content is what you need. It's like content first approach. Sure. And it's because all these privacy policies, right? iOS 14.5, Google's completely eliminating cookies this year. So like as marketers, we have less and less data off platform. So you 100% need to be investing in content. If I was like a business owner, just like you, I'd be hopping on every podcast, getting on as much camera time as possible, just talking about who I am, what I do, how I help, and trying to like make it engaging, not just like, hi, I'm Dr. Haad. Like, I'm like, it's like, we're like having a conversation. We're talking about stuff people want to know. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's engaging. That's the type of content you want to be creating. And the people that do that, they're going to win, and they're going to win the most. And, you pair that with somebody like myself, like a growth strategist, like now we can really scale a business because we have what we need to really like help you scale your business and do numbers. And that's like what we've seen consistently among all of our 7-8 figure businesses is like they get to a point where they can't grow anymore and they're just missing the right content. And we plug that content strategy in for them. We'll help them develop it. Anything about marketing that you like could share to somebody, or is that pretty much everything? Just like,
that's kind of it. Yeah. Just be, really do your due diligence, take your time. I think one thing you mentioned is like interview a lot of different, marketing companies, just so that you have an idea of what different, options are and what people are offering, and what their styles are. And then, go with somebody that has the same vision as you, right? So if you look at a marketing company, see what their ads look like. What are they producing, and is it something that you is in line with your vision, or is it not? And if it's not, then try to find somebody that's creating content or creating ads that are something that you envision your ads looking like. Right?
Yeah. The messaging is very important too, and that's what like the AI is analyzing too. Is like your messaging, right? And the content, it's watching your content, like that you're putting out as an ad. So as an advertiser, like that piece of content you put out, it's looking at that. It's looking at the copy that's in the ad. It's looking at the headline. It's also analyzing your entire landing page, all your website. It's crawling all of that. Based off of that is going to determine your costs, right? So some people like you'll see, I can like diagnose like a business. I'll look at their CPMs and I'll come in and I'll be like, you guys are paying this much, like your CPMs are outrageous. Well, what does that tell me as somebody who understands what the numbers mean? Their messaging is off, right? Their content's off, their landing page is off, right? And when you're doing all this like heavy coupon style, like sign up, opt now, like discount, it's like cool, you can get a lot of opt-ins, but like getting conversions, you're not targeting the right people. You're getting these Groupon style shoppers, and your messaging is so bad that Facebook actually says, we don't want you, but they don't have a big enough business to call up every business and say, stop doing what you're doing. So they just punish you. They just increase your costs of CPMs, right? So you look like your CPMs are through the roof. We took a client, like literally in 3 days of launching the campaign, we just refreshed the creatives. We didn't even launch any of our creatives because it takes about 2 to 4 weeks for us to come up with like new creatives. We took their existing stuff, we made it better. So better text overlays, better editing, like faster cuts, and improved the copy. Took their appointment costs and just improved the audience. Like, so nothing new, like literally just working with what the same team, their same marketing strategist had.
Sure.
Took them from an $80 to a $14 appointment cost. Like, we actually have some appointments that are coming at like $8.
Damn.
Just because Facebook's like, this is good, this aligns, we're going to reward you. And this stuff sucks, so we're going to punish you and we're going to raise your prices, right? And it's like, because they can't call every business and say, hey, you're messing up, like, because to them, they're also compliance, right? They don't want to get sued. So if you're making these bold claims, if you're saying stuff that's not compliant, especially in weight loss, prescriptions, like it's through the roof, right? So you absolutely need to have somebody who understands and is doing the right messaging, saying the right things on your landing pages, on your funnels, on your content, on all of it. And Facebook, well, hey, go figure. They're going to reward you when you do things that they actually want, which is create a better user experience.
For sure.
You're increasing their likelihood of getting sued. They're going to punish you as an advertiser. So yeah, it's crazy how all this stuff works. And most people don't know. I didn't know, I was just doing a lot of this myself too. And then we became a Facebook partner this last year. I also invest heavily into like, just like some of the highest level, like digital marketing groups there are, just because I know I'm like, this is valuable. I want to be the best. I'm hyper competitive too. Like you said, it's like a culture fit. You want to make sure you find people that like want to win and dominate. And that's like how I am. Like, I'm an ex-college wrestler. So it's like the only thing I see is like winning. Like losing is not an option. And like, that's where like the client side like to attract her. Like, do you want to dominate? And I'm like, yeah, we can help you then. So what made you, obviously, like this is like kind of a big market, weight loss, telehealth. What made you focus just on like men's health?
So men's health in general, I think is under it kind of, let's start. So if you're looking at how many med spas there are, if you just search med spa, you'll see there's like probably 20 med spas. There's one on every corner. Yeah. And med spas generally tailor to women, right? And so generally women go there, they get their Botox, they get their filler, they get their mostly cosmetic stuff. Yeah. And so they're mainly focusing on anti-aging for women, right? And so there's so many med spas, but there's not many men's spas, right? There's not many places where a man can go and focus on his aging, right? There's some TRT clinics now, and it's kind of gaining some traction. I think the men's health domain is, as functional medicine is gaining traction. I think men's health is as well, but I think it's very like underserved.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
There's a huge void there that I'm trying to fill, and especially in LA. I mean, I think in Burbank, I'm the only men's health clinic. And then LA, there's like not too many either. So just filling that void in that area, service area.
Love it. What advice would you give to doctors who are currently working, for maybe a hospital like yourself and wanting to start their own clinic, whether it's in person or telehealth?
Yeah, just keep gaining from the experience. I mean, medicine, if we think about, practicing medicine, we call it practicing medicine because nobody's ever perfect at it, right? We're always getting better. I didn't start my business right away. I started after 10 years of practicing medicine, right? So over those 10 years, you build a style. The word doctor means teacher, right? So I was teaching residents a lot, obviously teaching my patients. You learn a style of teaching your patients that kind of aligns with, what they're looking for and your ability to make sure that they follow your treatment protocol. Because if you're not teaching someone something properly, then they're probably not going to take your medications, or they're not going to listen to your advice, right? So there's no point. So developing those styles, those traits take time, right? And so as you practice medicine, you become a better practitioner. Always, learn as much as you can. Keep yourself up to speed on the studies, all the new research. Make sure you're adding that to your repertoire. And then when you feel like you're ready, when you feel like you're confident enough, and you've developed your bedside manner and your medical swagger, or whatever you want to call it, and you're ready to start your own practice, and you're ready to start seeing patients on your own, then just do it. And you just have to do it, because you can think about it, you can plan it, you can say, oh, next year, such and such time, I'm going to start doing this. You'll know when you're ready, and it's generally when your patients are asking you, and so many patients that like last couple of years have been asking me at the hospital, well, when are you going to start your own practice? I want to see you in a clinic, or can I see you in a clinic? And I'm like, no, I'm only here. And it's like, if that starts to happen in almost every conversation, you're probably doing something right. And it might be time for you to do your own practice.
Right. So build the skills, develop yourself, and then execute with speed.
Yeah, and just do it when you're ready.
Yeah. With Zeus, what's the main concerns patients are coming to you for?
So I would say kind of a testosterone concern. I mean, I think people have enough education now about testosterone and how it works that I think men, when they hit their 30s or 40s, have an idea of, maybe my testosterone levels going down. So they'll say, hey doc, I think, I have low energy, my libido's down, I don't feel good for the past couple of years. I think my testosterone might have taken a hit. Can we check that? Can we treat it? Or they've already checked their testosterone and they already know it's low. So I'd say that's like the biggest reason they see me is for testosterone concerns. And then we talk about all the things we can do for that. And then second biggest would be somebody who's really, especially in LA, we have so much access to, just health options. It's easier to be healthy in LA, aside from the pollution. Don't get me started on that. But like generally diet wise, we have a lot of options, right? And so the second type of patient would be somebody who's already really healthy, maybe, even more fit than I am, and just looking for like a little bit of an edge or a little boost, right? In the gym or, just in general in their mental clarity or overall energy. That's where maybe NAD and peptides become more of an option for someone who's already kind of optimized but looking for a little bit extra boost.
Yeah. What typically holds men back from taking that step in preventative medicine?
I think testosterone at some point in the 90s started to get a lot of stigma about it.
Yeah.
Concerns with cardiovascular risk and concerns about testicular cancer. But if you look at like recent studies have kind of totally debunked that.
Yeah.
Basically saying that, when testosterone or anabolic steroids for that matter are abused, if you're going to a level that's not safe or you're getting prescribed, this is why it's important to get prescribed by a physician, not taking your friend's supply at the gym in the locker room or different things that people do. When it's done unsafely, that's when you can have those adverse effects. But if it's done in a tightly regulated, controlled manner where you're looking for side effects and you're watching someone's blood and hemoglobin and their levels, it can be very safe. So I think most people are, when they're hesitant, it's because of that stigma that it carries with it.
They're afraid of the possibilities of negative outcomes.
Yeah, negative outcomes, and more so, I think it had that stigma around it where it was being abused by a lot of weightlifters and that type of vibe that it was getting. So I think people had put it into a negative category, like oh, you're on TRT, or it's something that people
they categorize it the same as like steroids.
Exactly, and it's totally different.
What is the difference between TRT and steroids?
So testosterone is a steroid. So that's one thing is that it is technically an anabolic steroid, right? But it's something that our body normally creates. But there's other steroids, right? So estrogen is a steroid, progesterone is a steroid. Those are steroids that women have that we don't want to have as much of. We do need a certain healthy level of estrogen and progesterone to function properly, but we don't want that to go too high. Anabolic steroids would be, something your friend got from Tijuana that you're gonna try in the locker room with your buddies, and it's gonna give you this, rush of energy and be extremely unsafe, right? And so there's a safe way to do something, and that's so the word steroids then gets that stigma. You're like, what's the difference between testosterone and steroids? Well, they're both technically steroids, but one is just done properly. Like TRT is a way that you can do it safely, and one would be, taking anabolic steroids from an unknown source in the black market online or through, a friend that you haven't been evaluated for it. A lot of young people are doing that, and that's where they get in trouble, where they become dependent on it, or their balls shrink permanently, or they lose their fertility, right?
Yeah.
And so it gets that stigma because of those things.
So your body naturally produces testosterone. How is it considered like a steroid, or how is that versus some of these steroids? Like our body doesn't naturally produce those things.
Yeah. Right? So great question. So the problem with testosterone is that our testosterone levels decline roughly at the age of 30 to 40, and it declines every year. Okay. And so if you look at the reference range for testosterone, that the labs indicate that normal is anywhere from 200 to 1100. So I guarantee you somebody at 200 will feel probably very different than somebody at 1100, right? There's a couple reasons why they do this with the reference range. One is because, and this is one of the problems with our healthcare system, is insurance companies are cheap and they don't want to cover testosterone because they know it requires a lot of frequent visits to the doctor to prescribe it, which is expensive. So they make this range of 200 to 1100. And I think the criteria is you have to have 2 recorded low readings to be able to even get on TRT covered by the insurance companies, which I've literally, I try, but I've had no patients that fall in the criteria. If you're less than 200, you probably can't even get out of bed to get your testosterone checked. Like
wow.
you're that
that's
diminished.
like super low.
Yeah. So normally, I mean, testosterone helps so much with like, our central adiposity, getting rid of that, helps with our muscle mass. In fact, our muscle mass decreases by about 3 to 8% per decade after the age of 30. And then after the age of 50, it decreases by about 1.5% per year. So muscle mass going down kind of correlates with our testosterone levels going down, kind of the same time frame. You can't really prove causality with correlation, but I mean, in essence, you can almost estimate that it follows the same curve for the same reason, right?
That way, when men get on TRT, they generally put on like more muscle mass.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's why one of the ways we can mitigate the muscle loss over time, or we call it sarcopenia is the medical term for it, is by, monitoring someone's testosterone levels and treating it accordingly, for sure.
Right. So then, are there any other protocols that can help men like improve their testosterone levels without getting on TRT?
Great question. Absolutely. So we use something personally called enclomiphene citrate.
Okay.
So enclomiphene citrate is a great example of biohacking, right? So what it does is it actually goes up into your hypothalamus and tells your hypothalamus to make more GnRH. Okay. That's called gonadotropic releasing hormone. Very important, because what that does is it tells your body to make your pituitary right underneath your hypothalamus to make more LH. Okay. Your LH then goes to your testicles and tells it to make more testosterone. Very different than TRT, because TRT, through negative feedback, when you take testosterone, actually shuts down your LH production and shuts down your testicular testosterone production. So you're kind of shutting down your factory. That's why your balls shrink when you take TRT.
Wow.
And they don't generally shrink when you take enclomiphene. So I always try to do enclomiphene first if a patient is a candidate. Generally,
a peptide,
just a pill that you take a couple times a week or daily. A couple different dosages. But if my patients can be on that, I'll always try it. It's something that after the age of 40, it doesn't work as well. Okay. It's something that, because our natural levels go down, so our natural factory isn't going to be producing as much testosterone. So the enclomiphene can't stimulate it as much.
Yeah.
So there's a perfect patient for both. There's a perfect patient for enclomiphene and a perfect patient for TRT, but we always find like a balance and try the enclomiphene if we can. It also preserves fertility.
Right.
Your balls don't shrink.
Right.
And if you stop the enclomiphene, you generally go back to where you normally would be at your age level for your testosterone production. It doesn't shut down your factory. You're actually increasing or ramping up your testicular production of testosterone naturally.
Okay.
So it's a lot safer in terms of some of the side effects, but you might argue not as robust of a response as you get with the testosterone.
Do people use HCG for a similar like process or effect?
HCG works in a manner very similar to enclomiphene. Okay, so HCG basically is LH. Okay, so when I said that the enclomiphene is telling your hypothalamus to make more GnRH, which is stimulating LH production, just one more pathway down, you're giving somebody LH. So it'll still stimulate.
What's better? Or what would you recommend?
So
be getting on HCG or enclomiphene?
HCG is going to be, so HCG is one treatment for a lot of times infertility for patients that were on testosterone, that you get off of testosterone, ready to have a kid, and then you put them on HCG and usually Clomid, which is similar to enclomiphene, because it's then stimulating your testes to make more testosterone. It's also stimulating your pituitary to help stimulate the Sertoli cells in your testicles to make more sperm and to help with sperm motility. So HCG is better for somebody who's looking for fertility and who wants to remain fertile. That's kind of also what enclomiphene does. Enclomiphene does also make you more fertile by stimulating your testicles. But it's kind of case by case, depending on.
You're saying double rapid if you're
if you're on enclomiphene and I would definitely be really careful. You might knock somebody up.
Yeah. So if you're on enclomiphene or HCG, double rapid if you're not trying to have kids.
If you're on TRT, you're probably a little bit better off.
Okay.
Double rapid.
Yeah. I mean, peptides are blowing up right now. I know another big one is Sermorelin.
Yeah.
What are the benefits for Sermorelin?
So Sermorelin is my favorite peptide for men, and testosterone is my favorite peptide for women. They both work very similarly. They're both basically growth hormone secretagogues. So it's kind of similar in a manner to the way I was describing enclomiphene, in that it doesn't affect your axis. When we say affect your axis, that means your pituitary to your body. It sends feedback to itself to shut it down if you already have something, right? So if you take growth hormone exogenously, like growth hormone injections, you'll shut down your axis and you'll produce less growth hormone because your body sees it as, oh, we already have growth hormone. We don't need to make any more. Problem is it shuts down your production of your own growth hormone in your pituitary gland. And if you do that for long enough, the gland atrophies, gets smaller, and actually works less when you get off of it. So now when you get off of growth hormone, you have a crash, okay? With Sermorelin and testosterone, a lot of these, usually when they end in relin, it means it's a growth hormone secretagogue.
So ipamorelin.
Ipamorelin as well. Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
CJC. These are all going to be working in a very similar manner. So you're going to the hypothalamus again, telling the hypothalamus to make more growth hormone releasing hormone. And then that's telling your pituitary to make more growth hormone. So you're ramping up the production of your own body's growth hormone so that if you stop it, your pituitary is still used to making growth hormone. You didn't shut down the factory. Okay? So
you're essentially tricking your body to like do it naturally.
Exactly. So you're kind of, it's a great example of biohacking, right? Tricking your body to do it naturally so that if you stop it, you didn't atrophy that pituitary gland. So it's still able to make growth hormone on its own without shutting it down.
Right.
A lot safer than growth hormone, in my opinion.
Is there ever a reason a man would be prescribed like testosterone or ipamorelin?
Absolutely. So it totally depends on your goals. If somebody's looking for a really robust, significant response in the gym specifically, I would probably do the combination of the ipamorelin and CJC. The problem is that currently the FDA has taken that one off the market, but we do still have Sermorelin, which is almost equally as good. And I love Sermorelin because it stimulates the hypothalamus and the pituitary, whereas the reason you have to take the CJC and the ipamorelin together is because one stimulates the hypothalamus and one stimulates the pituitary. Sermorelin just does both on its own. So you can just take one peptide there. That one is FDA approved. That one we do
Sermorelin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can
how do you know what dose to take, like, or what dose to prescribe? Because like question. I've asked countless clinicians and physicians, and I feel like there's no like.
Yeah, it's
like how do people know? They're just doing like random doses and like I wouldn't say random, but it's like is there any research like showing like this is the dose you want to be? Here's the effects you can get.
Yes and no. So it is a really novel peptide. So any novel treatment has less studies associated with it, right? So it's more clinician based. My particular experience, there's a pretty broad therapeutic index for Sermorelin. It ranges from 400 micrograms all the way to 2,000 or 2 cc's, and so. In that range, you never want to start somebody on a high dose of anything when you're trying to titrate something. So we usually start around 400 to 500 micrograms, about 4 to 5 days per week, just to give your body a couple of days off and let it function, normally without it. But we'll see at that range a pretty significant, robust response. And then from there, there's options of going up slightly. You can always decrease the frequency of the days, increase the frequency of the days, right? And you'll eventually find a good therapeutic response to the patient where this is why it's important to constantly follow up with the patient, see almost on a weekly basis how they're feeling. But once you find that sweet spot, they can stay on that. Usually we'll do like 3 months on, 1 month off.
Why do you guys cycle, or why cycle?
So you don't really have, so with growth hormone, you have to, right? And the reason you have to is because you have to reset your pituitary. We do it more just for kind of resetting the system. Okay. It's not something that you have to do. It's just something that you want to kind of give yourself a couple days or maybe a month of your own physiology. You don't want your body to forget your own physiology, right? You want it to kind of remember how it used to function or how it has functioned. Also, you don't need 3 months of anabolic activity, followed by another month of anabolic activity. You could have 3 months of muscle building and muscle growth and then a month off, right? Once you're building muscle at a tremendous rate for too long, it starts to put stress on your tendons and ligaments. So it's good to have a 1 month off where you go back to your normal routine and then you can get right back.
And so what, you can develop like ligament pains or like pain in your body from...
If your muscles grow too fast,
it happened to me. Like I was on testosterone and ipamorelin and I don't know if it just was like, I wasn't stretching enough or what, but like I had like crazy back pain.
Really?
And I started developing it actually before I got on those. And then like, I'm just like a brute. So I just like power through things. And then it got to the point where it was like debilitating. Like I couldn't even stand for like 20 minutes.
It probably was something that kind of started beforehand and then kind of just exacerbated into into a little bit of a subacute issue. But the reason I think it's odd is because testosterone and ipamorelin both are one of the ways that the growth hormone peptide works is that it helps with recovery. So you get less sore for, less long.
Right.
And your muscles are ready to go again kind of sooner than usual. So,
yeah.
But if you have an injury, it's usually better to be on something like BPC.
Right.
Or the kind of like the Wolverine peptide.
Yeah.
So I think like the combo, the BPC, the MGF, and the TB500, those together are just so anti-inflammatory.
Do you prescribe BPC one?
So BPC is off-label because it is not FDA approved currently.
Okay.
But yeah, in certain instances, we would do it for experimental purposes. But the way BPC works, I really can't wait for this to get back on the market because BPC stands for body protection compound. It was isolated initially in the stomach in response to stomach ulcers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people were getting ulcers and they found that this peptide was at, markedly higher levels in their stomachs at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, okay, this is playing some sort of response to ulcers and healing ulcers. So they started trying it in different parts of the GI tract with people with ulcerative colitis, and they noticed that this is helping all over, the entire GI tract. Mm-hmm. Eventually they realized it helps in joints too. And so now it's just a really potent, powerful anti-inflammatory, and it's something our body normally makes. If you think about it, it's a lot safer than like ibuprofen or
my gosh, yeah.
And so it's like these drug companies are pushing lawmakers to make sure that we allow ibuprofens and basically pharmaceuticals when there's something in our own body that our own stomach makes in response to ulcers and inflammation that can help our entire body with it. I've had patients with like post-op knee pain after like a surgery, knee replacement, and they do BPC and the pain's gone within a week. I mean, it's like a miracle drug. I hurt my left shoulder. I took a 2-week supply of it and it was gone.
Injection or oral?
So all these peptides, I think, should be injectable. Yeah. There's some oral troches that we used to offer. Mm-hmm. They just don't work. I wouldn't recommend it.
And is that just like, even if they're like, does anybody do liposomal or nanotechnology for these or not really?
So liposomal, you have to understand that for liposomal to work when you do it orally, right, it still has to get through the gut barrier, right? So you're assuming, you don't have malabsorption, you don't have a leaky gut, you don't have any intestinal permeability issues. You're also assuming that your gut lining is working properly, that your microbiota are all not going to start to break down this, this liposomal product that you're putting in your body. It's a lot of assumptions, and people, especially with NAD, they're taking NMN, NR. These supplements are great when they work, right? And if somebody has a totally fully functioning GI tract and then can get it into their body, and not to mention once it's in your body, those derivatives have to be converted then into NAD. So a lot of assumptions there to assume that that's going to turn into NAD as opposed to injecting NAD, right? And so same goes for the peptides when you're taking them orally. The troches, I don't think they work that well.
Right.
I always recommend the injectable form if possible. It might be a little bit more pricey. You might have to inject yourself. Right. I see it when people tell me that. I'm like, look, if you're diabetic, you'd have to inject yourself 4 times a day.
Yeah.
Type 1 diabetics do it 4 times a day.
That's crazy.
I'm like, you can do it a couple times a week, and you're going to get used to it. So it's not.
And they're small needles.
They're small
insulin needles.
You use the small insulin needles. It's only subcutaneous, it's not IM, so you don't have to go into your.
I did a vitamin D injection once. That was nuts.
Those
that was like
intense.
Big into my leg. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, I'm just gonna go in the sun.
Vitamin D.
Yeah, I'm like, screw that. Like
those flu shots and those like vaccines that we had.
That was crazy. Yeah. But the
hilarious.
peptide needles, those were easy. You don't even feel them. Like you literally, it's like
do it right.
I did it here for the Ipamorelin, Testosterone, and then I was on HCG as well.
Yeah. How's your back now? A little bit better?
Well, so I actually stopped taking those just because personally, like I felt like, I don't know if I'm probably like a really weird candidate for this to ask this question. I'm like, I feel very grounded and I've been meditating for like 11 years now, maybe longer, like pretty much every day, twice a day. And I felt that when I was on the peptides, what happened is I got very in my body and like kind of got out of like my spirit, and I was just like focused mostly on just like only my physical, which is great. But like, it's like, I also want to like maintain that like alignment with my highest self. And
so you feel like it changed your
I wouldn't say that it changed it. I think what happened is I was just like, it was almost like I was being rewarded by like more physical things, like going to the gym. Like, it's like I saw the effect of it. It was just like I was, and I stopped like prioritizing like meditation. So I'm not saying that everybody would have this.
And maybe I could probably try it again and just like really focus more on like being more balanced, you know, in my meditation practice. But at the time it was like, I wanted to get to like 200 pounds in body weight.
Got it.
And so I was like, and I just lock in on a goal when I set it. And it was just like, that was the only thing. So like, I don't know if like, it was just like me or if it had something to do with it. So I just decided to stop like taking the injections and like, you know, that was just like a personal thing. Cause I'm also like very minimalist. I try to like not rely on anything outside of my body. And
it's different. I mean, it's not for everyone. Like, so peptides are something that I would say are very like patient specific, you know, in terms of like if it's for you or not and which one might work best for you. There are things that anybody could do for their health that like, you know, like nature's biohacking, you know, like fiber is something that I think, you know, people always ask me, what supplements should I take? What peptides should I take? Or what's one thing you recommend? And it's like, okay, those are all good questions, but like the first thing I always try to look at is what are you doing right now? Are you avoiding harmful things? Are you putting things in your body that are actually going to help your health? And so the biggest thing I think, you know, so I call it like plant-based fiber is nature's biohacking compound, right? And the reason for that is it just has so many benefits. So, you know, if you eat like a salad or, you know, high plant-based fiber meal, you're doing so many good things for your body. One is, you know, you're putting stretch on your GI tract because it has so much bulk, and your GI tract has these receptors, stretch receptors that send signals to your brain, satiety signals telling your brain you're full. Okay, so by telling your brain you're full, especially in the beginning of your meal, so if you do plant-based fiber in the beginning of your meal, the rest of the meal, I mean, you don't have much room in your GI tract for all the bad stuff that's bad for you, right? So if you have like a steak dinner, say, and you start with a salad versus somebody who doesn't, right? The person who doesn't probably have like the big ribeye, they'll have the cream spinach, they'll have the scalloped potatoes, they'll have like the dessert. But by the time the first patient, you know, has the salad, they get to their steak, they might only have like a small petite fillet or something, right? Wow. Because they're already kind of full. They're already getting those receptors of their brain telling them that they're full. They might not mess with the cream spinach and the sides, and they definitely won't have room for dessert, right?
Yeah.
And so just by making that change, you're putting something that's so good for you into your body, and you're displacing so much stuff that's bad for you, right?
Yeah.
And that good stuff, that fiber actually goes to your GI tract. It actually has so many benefits to your microbiota. It kind of stimulates the production of the better bacteria in your gut, which is like the Akkermansia, the lactobacilli, the bifidobacterium. So you have better bacteria in your gut now that are focused more on protecting your intestinal barrier, your intestinal lining. And then they're also forming something called short chain fatty acids into your body that your body uses. And then those short chain fatty acids have been shown in studies to decrease heart disease, decrease strokes, and decrease diabetes. So that's all just from taking fiber. Not to mention they sequester glucose or sugar. So when you eat a lot of sugar, you get that glucose spike and you get that insulin spike, right? And that glucose spike is significantly bad for your body. I mean, it takes so much for your body to break that down. It puts so much oxidative stress on your mitochondria. You get DNA damage from all those free radicals. But imagine fiber grabs onto that sugar that you eat and time releases it throughout your GI, into your GI tract, into your bloodstream by holding onto it, sequestering it, and slowly releasing it. So now you don't get that glucose spike, you don't get that insulin spike, which causes insulin resistance. You get like a very graduated response. So it helps regulate blood sugar, it helps with your intestinal lining, it helps with your gut microbiota, and it helps displace bad things in your diet. So easy thing anybody can do, you know? We don't all have to take peptides, but there's so many things, small things we can do in our diet and exercise regimen, like seed oils. And I could go on and on about this forever.
Yeah, I know. We should probably have another episode just about the biohacking and all that. So why are men so unhealthy?
So good question. So men, we have a lifespan, unfortunately, 5 to 7 years younger than women.
Yeah.
We have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. We have a higher risk of accidental deaths, which is, I guess, like car accidents and accidental fatalities. So some people argue for that part of it, that we have more reckless behavior, more incidences of reckless driving related accidents. The 5 to 7 year difference is pretty large.
Yeah.
It definitely is attributable to increase in obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. So those are your biggest, causes of death, and men have increased incidences of those. And so it's hard to say why.
Yeah.
One other reason that they found is that men are less likely to get help when they have a medical illness. So we're more likely to hide it, or for whatever reason, we're too busy, or just less likely to get help when they have a medical issue.
Yeah.
So it's probably a combination of that, maybe a little bit more reckless decision making, more impulsive behavior, which is maybe why we have more accidental deaths. But the 5 to 7 year range is definitely those major comorbidities that we have.
Right. So what are the signs of that men should get on TRT?
So signs would be kind of around the age of 30 to 40. Things that might start to happen is decreased libido, decreased erection function, erectile dysfunction. If you start to have central adiposity, you're starting to gain some weight in the midsection that you can't control. Your weight's going up despite adequate exercise and nutrition. Mental, clarity starting to go down. You're experiencing brain fog, and then just low energy, not feeling like you want to get out of bed, low drive, mood issues. So if somebody has depression or anxiety developing out of nowhere, and then sleep issues. Sleep issues can be affected by testosterone too. So, I mean, obviously those are a lot of various things. If you have even a couple of those, it's worth getting your testosterone checked. I think everyone should get their testosterone checked. Right. I mean, after the age of 30, every 6 months to 12 months, you should be getting it checked, because if that's heading in the wrong direction, it can put serious, problems in your life.
Yeah. What are the signs men should be on Sermorelin?
So Sermorelin is more of something I don't think anybody has to be on. For example, I think it's more of something I use as like an adjunct or a boost. Somebody maybe who comes to you and is stalling out at the gym, or kind of feels like they're putting in a lot of work or effort into their exercise and diet regimen, but they're not getting that result that they want. They want that extra 10% boost. That's kind of more of what the Sermorelin would be for. The TRT would be more for somebody who has those significant symptoms of decline in their levels are going down.
Okay.
So kind of different.
Yeah. Can you drink alcohol while being on TRT or Sermorelin?
I mean, the answer to that would be alcohol is horrible for you in so many ways. I mean, it's the byproduct that you produce, acetaldehyde, it's so toxic to your body. It makes you fat. It makes you retain, fat in your liver. You get fatty liver disease. People die from that. But the real issue is that when your body sees alcohol in it, it is going to process the alcohol first. And when it processes it, it breaks it into acetaldehyde, which is extremely toxic. A lot of oxidative stress on your body, damages your mitochondria, damages your DNA. You start to age. And then it doesn't get to the other stuff until after it breaks down the alcohol. So you might have had some glucose in there. You might have had some sugar in your drink or whatever. Well, guess what? That's not getting processed till after the alcohol. It's in a waiting list.
Wow. And
so now that sugar spike and that other fat that you have in your diet with your alcohol is all on standby, moving around your body and just damaging all your tissues until eventually your liver, which is probably so worn out after having to deal with the alcohol, can finally break that down, right? So that's kind of how the pathophysiology works in terms of why it's bad for you. But
right.
I mean, to answer your question, can you drink on TRT? I mean, you can. It's not going to optimize the treatment, right? The whole point of the TRT is to optimize your health, get you, moving in the right direction. But then you're taking something else that's moving you in the other direction. So you're just playing tug of war with your body and your health. So I don't know if it's going to do anything.
Yeah, it's crazy how many Americans just drink all the time with every meal and don't think anything of it. And it's like they're just pouring like straight poison into their body. Yeah, it's like so socially accepted. Actually, it's unaccepted if you don't drink. Like you go somewhere and say, I don't drink. They're like, what's wrong with you? Are you an alcoholic? I'm like, no, I care about my health.
Right. Yeah.
I don't like feeling the way that it makes me feel the next day.
That's the crazy thing. Like there's so many things we can eliminate, right? Like, so it's like people talk about erectile dysfunction. It's like, what should I do? Should I take Viagra? And you can just go and order medications on Hims now by filling out a form, right? But it's like, what's the root cause, Yeah. Like smoking, alcohol use, age, cerebrovascular disease, heart disease, high blood pressure. These are all things that cause, erectile dysfunction. Like, have those been addressed?
Right.
And it's like, if somebody's obese and they're trying to take Viagra, it's like, you have to get your heart rate high enough to be able to sustain sexual response. And I don't care how much Viagra you're taking. If you're like fat, out of shape, and not working out, it's not you're not gonna be the best in bed. So it's like, those are the questions people need to be asking.
So the reason people can't lose weight is oftentimes because they're consuming alcohol.
Oh yeah, I mean that's probably gonna be one of the biggest, chronic.
If you had to say one of the biggest contributors to alcohol, you have to choose one, or to not losing weight: alcohol consumption or diet. Like in
Ooh, that's a tough one. I wish we had some more head-to-head studies on that. That's a good idea. I'm gonna look for that or implement that. But
I see so many of my
studies.
I mean, like I work out heavily, so like I've never had to worry about like my diet per se.
Mhm.
But I see a lot of people at the gym that work out as much as me, if not more than me, and they're fat. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I can tell that. And then I see them at a bar, at a restaurant. I'm like, okay, I know why. You're drinking every night of the week.
Right,
that's why you're not.
So that's a huge factor, and then there's also a genetic factor too.
Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely a genetic component of obesity and type 2 diabetes and all the things associated with it. But for sure, if you're comparing two individuals, one who's got a active and healthy lifestyle and still drinks heavily at night versus one who's active and healthy lifestyle, for sure, the second guy is going to be in better shape for sure.
Yeah, cut alcohol. That's like the hack to.
It's funny at the conference I went to, all the Sinclair, Dave Asprey, Peter Thiel was there. All of them had the same common message. None of them drink. And it's like none of them drink at all for a long time.
Yeah,
and look at them. They're like the biohacking experts, right?
Yeah,
and it's just like that's the first. I mean, the first thing we should do is eliminate stuff like plastics and heavy metals. And alcohol and tobacco. And it's like, if you're not eliminating that stuff, what peptide can I give you that's really going to help your health a lot? So I always say, do that first. Yeah. And then let's see how you feel in about a month. And then let's talk about what you can do to boost it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I see that a lot. People just want the easy route instead of like.
If I take NAD, I can still do all these bad things in my body. And it's like, probably not.
Do steroids actually make your penis small?
So they shouldn't make so testosterone should not make your penis small. Testosterone replacement therapy can shrink your balls. So TRT can shrink your balls. Enclomiphene won't. Enclomiphene will keep them the same size. But usually with the TRT that we do a TRT support subscription as well. It comes with the subscription of the TRT. But you'll basically get a couple of pills that'll help prevent the balls from shrinking. So we prefer if people don't complain about that.
Right.
Same thing when it goes with the gynecomastia. We don't want knock on wood, we have no patients develop man boobs to this day. Part of it also is the TRT support. We kind of designed that with one of our partner pharmacies specifically for this situation. So people have anti-estrogen effects, and they get a little bit of the Clomid to help with testicle size.
So if you're concerned about your balls shrinking in size, you want to make sure to do your guys' subscription at Zeus.
At Zeus, and we'll give you the TRT support pills with the subscription, and your balls should be good.
Hey, you got to protect them at all costs.
Yeah, we don't want to shrinking out of nowhere for sure.
Can men get a bigger penis?
So I guess it's two parts of the question. To answer your question, if men can get a bigger actual penis, the answer would be no. We can't really change what we've been endowed with since we've been born. But there's so much we can do for our erections. I mean, as we age, our nitric oxide levels go down, and nitric oxide is what keeps our vessels in our penis and our whole body open. And so that's kind of where the Viagra and Cialis come in. Oftentimes, it's a phosphodiesterase inhibitor, so it actually increases your nitric oxide levels, so it can help you with your erections. But there's so many other causes, right? There's psychological causes we talked about a little bit. There's also vascular causes, right? And so, there's no cookie cutter approach to this where you just give everybody Viagra and call it a day. You kind of have to see, is there things going on at home? Is there stress at work? Is this a sudden, acute cause? Is it happening over time? So age-related things, comorbidities, cardiovascular disease, heart attack, strokes, blood pressure can all cause erectile dysfunction. So we actually have a Shockwave machine now in the Burbank clinic. And so Shockwave therapy is about 6 to 12 sessions. We do one every 1 to 2 weeks. And they're about 20-minute sessions. It's just using sound therapy. So it's not anything invasive.
It's not like zapping your penis?
Nope. And it's super pain-free. The only time it would be painful if somebody had Peyronie's disease, there's some scarring there, which actually helps with too. Or if somebody had really bad inflammation. But if you do that treatment, in 50 to 80% of patients we're seeing an increase in erection function. Okay. With the Shockwave therapy. So there's non-invasive things you can do like Shockwave therapy. There's pharmacologic things you can do like Viagra, Cialis, etc., Levitra. And then there's some people can get surgeries, which they'll have, to answer your question. Yeah. You can increase the size. if you get the
I know the med spas.
penis pumps and
They
right?
like, I actually, it's crazy. I you know, I ask all these questions about these businesses, and I was asking one of the med spas, like, you know, give me like your breakdown of your patients, like what they're coming in for. And they're like, oh, we do like this much filler. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, you guys are like, got to be in like the top like 5 or 6%. They're like, yeah. And you'll never believe what it's for. I was like, what, like BBLs? They're like, no, penis enlargements. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, so we definitely don't do that. I know that's gotten really popular. I personally would never put a needle or a surgical scalpel in my penis down there. Hell no.
Yeah. I used a razor just to shave one time down there, and that was the closest. I was like, never again. Nicked it, and I was like, no way.
Filler in general is dangerous. If you're messing with your nerves down there, it's a very delicate situation. You're putting filler in there, you could give yourself permanent erectile dysfunction.
Wow.
I wouldn't recommend it. I know some people are doing it. I would actually, refer, a patient who's interested in anything like any sort of like PRP, grafting, or any injections to a urologist. I just feel like it's best to go to your urologist and see if it's a good fit for you. But personally, for me, I don't think any procedure is the answer down there. I think the most what I would do is a shockwave.
Yeah,
for sure.
So then, is TRT safe?
TRT safe, yeah. So again, we were talking a little bit about, in the 90s, it got this stigma for cardiovascular disease and for potential for testicular cancer, but that's really reserved for people who are abusing it, getting their levels way too high. If you're above 1100 for too long, you can get polycythemia, your hemoglobin can go up, and you can start to throw clots, you can have heart attacks, strokes, but that's if it's not monitored properly, not done well enough. So if you're doing it right, it's safe. Those studies have been pretty much debunked. So it is safe if it's done properly and managed properly.
Yeah. So I know a lot of like these pop-up clinics and other businesses, they might be making some like really bold claims around like patient expectations, what they can get from these treatments. Can you just set the record straight?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain instances. I mean, there are some miracle drugs. Okay, like I think NAD is something that anybody can take, and it'll help everybody's health. I mean, our NAD declines as we get older, and if you the only way to try it is taking it. If you take it, you'll notice that your energy levels are going to be higher. Your mental clarity is going to be at a peak for a couple of days.
Okay.
And so there are some things when people are claiming that NAD is, the end all be all miracle, it kind of is. Right. But then if there's people telling you that everybody should be on peptides or everybody should be on GLP-1s, that's not true at all. And you really have to look at every patient individually. There's a lot of people that just aren't good candidates for GLP-1s. And living in LA, we have a lot of people that are coming to me asking me with BMIs of 21 or 19 or 20 if they can get on Ozempic, and I'm like, no,
they want a six
I'm
pack.
Like, and I know some doctors that would do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's malpractice. The studies on Ozempic, the trial that they have, the 72-week trial that shows about 15% weight loss in patients with semaglutide and about 21% weight loss with patients with tirzepatide. It's over 72 weeks, but it's done on obese patients with a BMI greater than 30, right? And so which is, by the way, a lot of 15%, 21% of a BMI greater than 30 is a lot of weight. So it really works well for the right patient under the right circumstances. But if people are using it, or abusing it on underweight people who maybe have anorexia or some psychological problems where they want to lose additional weight, you could really be doing more harm than good. You could be ending up with pancreatitis, renal failure, in the hospital with ileus or gastroparesis. And we've seen that. I mean, I haven't seen that personally with any of my patients because we do it really safely. We screen all our patients online and in person. We make sure that they're a safe candidate, and especially early on, we're watching everything really closely. So it's absolutely not true that everybody should be on GLP-1s.
Right.
And same with peptides. They're not for everybody.
Yeah, I used to be very against like GLP-1s. Weight loss, I kind of fell in my lap with one of our clients, and I was just like, I don't really want to like get behind this because I'm all about like biohacking, holistic health. But then it was like a big perspective shift, just seeing I started doing more research, and it was just such a catalyst for some of these people who are like 300, 400 pounds who like actually need it. And they're like, I'm about to be wheelchaired. I can't walk, and it's like, okay, now they can walk. Now they can get mobile. Now it's a step forward. They feel more confident. Now they can start actually being significantly more healthy. So
100%.
yeah, it is definitely something that like I was very against before, but now seeing like the life-changing effect that it's had on so many people who like it literally like changed their lives. You know, they got mobile, they started going to the gym, they started eating right, and they're like, I feel better. And it's like, it can really change people's lives. But as you said, it's like, it's not for everybody. If you're just trying to get abs,
Right.
There can be some adverse effects.
And then on the other side of the same spectrum, I mean, I always screen my patients for their like what lifestyle choices are they making before the treatment, right? And so if you have somebody who's really sedentary, eating like crap and not working out at all, and you put them on Ozempic and they lose some weight, guess what? When they get off of it, they're going to gain it right back. Those same lifestyle choices are going to go right back to what they're doing before. And so it's like, it's so important before starting this medication that you make sure patients are making the appropriate lifestyle modifications, you know, before, during, and after the treatment for the best effects. Otherwise, they're just going to gain it right back.
Yeah, it's crazy. And there's so many businesses too that just, they prey on that. They know they're just going to get right back on the medication and they don't care at all. It's like, yeah. But you know, you're a doctor, like you went into practicing medicine first and wanting to help people first and then pivoted into this. So many people, not the case. They're just like green rush, you know, like gold rush. Like I'm gonna make money on it. Yeah,
it's like they have these subscriptions where they'll be like, you know, you have to be on it for 90 days or you can't cancel for like the next 120 days. And it's like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, what if somebody has a reaction or they have a side effect or after 30 days they lose enough weight that they're happy and they want to stop it. So, you know, like you said, people preying on, you know, patients and making it into more of a business than a practice. And for us, if you any point, you know, you reach your goals or you want to stop treatment, it's literally a click and you cancel and you're done. And I actually want my patients, after they're reached their goals for their weight loss medications, to not see them again for weight loss. I want them to keep it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I don't see them after they lose their weight and everything's going well, that's a good sign, you know?
Yeah. What are some of the biggest things that like men notice when they get on TRT?
Okay, so it's kind of a graduated response. It's not something that happens like right. You're not going to wake up the next day feeling like the Hulk.
Yeah.
It usually happens over the course of a couple of days and maybe a couple injections. So if you're doing injections a couple times a week or once a week, you might notice in about a week or two. Once your body has the right testosterone level for a period of time, you're going to start to feel more energy. You're going to wake up in the morning with more drive to start your day. That's kind of the biggest way I would describe it. Is, you know, you're excited about life again. You want to have your cup of coffee and you want to get your day going. You're more excited about work. You're more excited about what we call activities of daily living. This is kind of how low testosterone manifests in depression, is because you get this feeling of anhedonia or inability to kind of enjoy your normal routine parts of life. Like, for example, you might find yourself singing in the shower, right? Like, is an example that maybe you're enjoying showering again or just normal activities. And then your libido is going to start to come back, right? Or your sexual function is going to start to be enhanced. If you have a female partner, male partner, whatever, somebody else that you're with, I mean, they'll definitely notice an increase in your drive. You might want to go several times a day as opposed to maybe not wanting to or having issues with libido.
Do the women like it when men get on TRT?
I think so. I mean, I think it's a noticeable increase in sex drive and it's like, whoa, where did this come from? Like, who are you? You know, that type of response. I get that a lot from my patients. And then the last thing would be the gym, right? I mean, you have that increased energy in the gym. Your muscle, it's anabolic, so it's promoting muscle growth. And then it's also helping shred down any excess fat that you have or central adiposity. So it's just something that makes us a man, right? And without it, you know, you become a shell of yourself. Right. And I think that's why people are kind of ashamed or like, you know, hesitant to get on TRT or even get their testosterone checked because they're scared. It's like an indication of their manhood, but it's like, it's not something you have to fear. It's something our testosterone levels go down every year.
It's a natural thing that all men experience.
Exactly. And so if you know it's going to happen, it's better to, you know, deal with it preemptively, take care of it and feel better.
Yeah. And when you look better, you feel better.
Exactly. It's like when
you feel better, you do
cycle,
better.
Right? Because if your levels start to go down and everything in your life will start to kind of crumble in a way. But if you're maintaining it, then you're just going to feel good. Like,
and you can tell, like,
for life.
You can tell, like, I work out of the gym all the time. I would say, I think the reason I'm such a good marketer is I'm very observant, like just my whole life, always observe things. So I notice like guys at the gym, I'm like, I see them and then like, I just noticed like they start walking differently. They start coming in. I'm like, they're actually putting on size. And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure that guy's on TRT or some form of peptide. And then they're just like, they're just like glowing. Like they just feel more confident, more like more attractive. And then they start talking to women at the gym and they just attract like more things in their life. Right. I haven't met anybody that's like regretted being on TRT. And I'm assuming most of the women in their significant other life
don't regret it either, right? For sure.
Yeah. What are some of the common like hesitations that patients have to possibly getting on a TRT or, one of the treatments that you guys might have?
I'd say like one of the biggest is like people are scared of needles, scared of injections, scared of the stigma of doing injections. And so I oftentimes like I'll offer the patient, come to the office, let's do it together. We'll walk you through your first one. I'll have them do their first one together with them, hold their hand, and they'll usually realize it's not that bad. It's not that hard. And especially if it's something you're doing once a week or twice a week for significant, benefit. Once they do it a couple times, that hesitation kind of goes away.
Oh, I can say
suddenly they're like, I don't care about needles.
I can say from firsthand experience, I was terrified of needles. Like I had no idea. Actually, it was one of our clients. He asked me like, what do you want? Like, what are you trying to get out of like, where you're at? And I was like, honestly, I feel good. Like, I just want to like be more optimized, show up like I was my best self every day. And he's like, okay, I'll like, so he got me like on testosterone, Morelin, and HCG. And I had no idea that it was even going to be an injection. Like I didn't even know at all. Like, so I just like get all these needles. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. and like, I like to smoke weed. That's like, I'm not a big drinker. So like, I like to smoke to like wind down. And it's something I do like a couple times a month. And it happened to be like the night I was planning to like start the regimen. So I'm like, I smoke. I'm like, okay, like time to get the needles. And I like literally just like I like had like a borderline panic attack. Like I'm like, I hope I'm mixing this right. Like the reconstitution. I'm like, I'm a chemist right now. And I probably like, it was like if somebody watched it, they probably would have been laughing hysterically. I'm sure you're probably understanding exactly what I'm going through. And I'm just like literally, I probably watched a video online like 10 times to make sure I did it right. I read the directions like 10 times. I was like, oh my God. And then like I poked it. I'm like, I didn't even feel anything. I was like, that was like, hilarious. I'm like, what a fucking wimp I was. Like, I was so in my head.
Right? And once you did it,
I was like, you don't even feel it. Like it was just so fast. And then it was like, I literally think I got it down to like 30 seconds. Like, I would literally go in the fridge, pull it out, like, hit it, and it was like super quick. Now the vitamin D, that thing was gnarly. That sucked. The
IM injections were a little bit more painful,
that was like right in my thigh. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. I'm like, I'll suffer. I'll be vitamin D deficient if that's what
you're like, I'm good.
Like, no way.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So how are patients finding some of this stuff like so dirt cheap?
Very good question. So there's a workaround right now, and it applies to some of the peptides that have been FDA that the FDA currently is not approving. And so compounding pharmacies are basically regulated by the FDA as well as the pharmacy board that they're under, right? So if you have a compounding pharmacy in California, the pharmacy board of California regulates it and the FDA regulates it, right? Which means they're testing it very carefully. They're making sure that patients aren't having adverse effects, making sure it's safe, right? Very important. But there's different rules that govern research peptides, okay? So research peptides, they actually have to indicate on the package that these are not for humans.
Yeah.
It says that this literally says this is not something that's intended for humans. And they're selling these to humans. And I still don't understand how the workaround goes from that standpoint. But these research companies are not regulated by the FDA or by any pharmacy board or medical board. So they're able to basically put whatever they want in a vial, say that this is not intended for human use, and sell it to people through the workaround. And you could be taking something that's not even close to what you're buying. It could be complete crap. And I've actually had a friend who had almost died, had an anaphylactic reaction from Morelin CJC, which was clearly not any. And I'm like, dude, stop. Just don't do that.
From one of those research.
He's like, should I try it again? I'm like, no, don't do it again. Yeah. So if you have an anaphylactic reaction, the second time you have it, it's going to be significantly worse.
And what does that mean for somebody that's not a doctor?
Like a life-threatening allergic reaction.
Okay, so like they're
like if you're allergic to peanuts, you have peanuts. Okay. And so he was like having wheezing, he couldn't breathe. He had to go to the ER. He had to get
that's crazy.
A bunch of injections, saved his life. But I mean, these are things that you can actually die from.
Yeah.
So it's like, and they're really cheap.
Right.
So because for that reason, what you really should be doing is, I always recommend getting it under supervision of a physician, MD, if you can, and getting it, just administered properly. You're gonna usually you'll administer it with the physician, because I generally want to see how people do in person with these injections, at least for the first time, especially TRT, peptides, and NAD if possible. There's limitations sometimes to people being able to make it, but we work around it occasionally. But yeah, at least that way you're with a physician in case something happens, and you're under the treatment of a physician if something happens, with the medication.
Yeah. So I found it cheaper somewhere else doesn't necessarily mean one that you actually found it cheaper, because it could be something that's not actually what you're paying for.
So if it says for research use only, or if it says not for use for humans on it,
do not use it.
Don't use it. Take it back.
Yeah. Okay. So then, someone wants to get started. Walk us through like the patient journey. What's the process like to get started with you guys at Zeus Men's Health?
For sure. So it kind of depends on how they found us. If it's a referral, I'd probably give them my direct contact and they would contact me. If it's something, that they found organically through the search engine, just by Googling, they usually go to the website. They can make an appointment through the website, just through Contact Us, for example. And then, when I was running ads, there was a similar situation. They would either do the Contact Us through the website or through the ad. But once they get in touch with me, the first step is always doing a consult. And so we schedule a consult, when it works for them or me, in person or virtual. Like I said, most people choose virtual just for convenience.
Yeah.
And, we spend the time we spend really varies on the patient, how complex the patient is, how many questions they have.
Yeah.
Anywhere from 20 minutes to like an hour. I mean, I've spent a significant amount of time, but we, get to the bottom of all their concerns. We kind of do a full history, full review of systems, figure out, all of their family history, take a look at I try to get their labs before the appointment if I can, so I can review everything. And so I have an idea of their most recent labs. And then at that point, once the consult is over, obviously we have like the assessment and plan. I tell them, here's what I think we should do. If it's more testing, then we would do more testing. We can always call our labs into Quest. We can also send them we have home testing kits as well, which are super easy to use and painless and cheap. So either one, if we need to do more testing, we wait for those tests to come back. Once those tests come back, reconvene and talk about different treatment options. Okay. And this could range from things like TRT, it could be supplements I recommend, and it could be other things we talked about like peptides, hair loss treatments, Shockwave therapy for penis, whatever. Yeah. It could be, whatever they're interested in or what they need for their, what they're looking for.
So if you're a man and you're fatigued, maybe you might be experiencing brain fog, you're tired, not sleeping as well as you could be, feeling possibly depressed. These are the signs that you should probably schedule is it a free consult with you?
Yeah. Right now it's a free consult, especially during the holidays, I made it a free consult as a promotion, but I'm going to keep that going. And like for virtual or in person, we can go over your whole health. We can get to the bottom of it and figure out why you feel that way. And try to do something about it. Yeah.
And so recommend getting your labs done first. If not, you'll just pretty much have to send them to the labs before you can really understand.
You can always review what they have. If there's something within the last year, sometimes I can work with it if something glaringly obvious. But generally, if they can get their labs done, it's always better.
Okay.
I kind of like to be the one ordering the labs because I kind of specifically order a lot of different things that pertain more to men's health and anti-aging. But if they can do it with their primary, that's totally fine too. Yeah.
What's the difference between peptides and steroids?
Well, I guess steroids would be like more your TRT or your traditional kind of men's health treatments, or estrogen and progesterone are both steroids we want to avoid, right? Peptides would be something that your body normally makes. So peptide technically is a protein that's a short enough length. Proteins, all peptides are proteins, but not all proteins are peptides is the way to think about it. And generally less than 100 amino acids is what a peptide is going to be known as. It's small enough that it can cross the blood-brain barrier. It's small enough that it can be injected subcutaneously and be absorbed in your bloodstream without getting basically broken down by your system. When it gets longer than a certain amount, it folds into a three-dimensional structure called the quaternary structure, and that's what a protein looks like then. That's kind of what our muscles are made up of, right? Those are too big for our body to absorb, so we break it down. We have enzymes that break those down, and then they get absorbed as amino acids. So a peptide is small enough that it can travel throughout the body and almost act as a messenger and have various effects throughout the body. Usually it comes from something that we've already isolated in our own bodies. Like I was telling you, BPC comes from the stomach. So it's generally safer than, a medication or a pharmaceutical, because it's something our body normally probably already makes, but we're just kind of increasing the concentration of it to give our body an edge, kind of like a biohacking mechanism.
Okay. So what does personalized medicine mean exactly?
So personalized medicine would mean, let me give you the opposite. If somebody has, a low testosterone, we're going to give all of them testosterone. That's it. Personalized medicine would be if somebody has low testosterone, but they're looking to conceive, they want to have kids soon, then we probably try something more like enclomiphene. But if they're looking more for something for, to make sure that they don't lose their hair, that's their most important, function, then we might stay away from testosterone. We might try something like a peptide. If somebody wants something specifically for their brain fog and energy, we might try something like NAD. So you're kind of looking at a patient as a whole and saying, okay, what, not just the numbers, but what does this patient specifically care about? What's their preference? What are their goals? Mm-hmm. And trying to address their specific goals and not their numbers or just what you would do for everybody else.
Yeah.
Type of thing, right?
Is personalized medicine the future of like healthcare or like preventative?
Yes. And I think it's going to be, my prediction is it's going to be because of AI.
Yeah.
I think AI is going to be able to, just like you were mentioning how well AI is working for advertisements and making sure we see what we're interested in. I think eventually AI is going to be able to pick up what health parameters matter most to us and also what may be going wrong and essentially come up with a treatment plan. I might not have a job. Right. we might have a computer that's basically, going through somebody's information and saying you need X, Y, and Z supplement or X, Y, and Z medication. And that might be the way of the future. We saw that in the conference at the A4M. There's already a AI company that's basically doing like a chat GPT, but for doctors, using all the available literature and coming up with treatment plans. If you put in a patient's case, it just tells you like what medications are prescribed.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so cool. But then I'm like, wait a minute, what about us?
Yeah.
I'm
like,
exactly.
Like I need to be leveraging that before everybody
I need to have that before. No, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I don't have that, I'm at a disadvantage.
Yeah. The people that are going to be affected by AI are the ones that aren't using AI to
100%.
better their lives,
100%.
better their work, better their output, 100%. So obviously you have a wealth of information around health, men's health. How do people stay connected? How do they find you?
So at ZeusMensHealth.com is my Instagram, at HaadMD. They're both public. Add me, ask me questions, DM me. You can always go to the website, ZeusMensHealth.com. The contact me and about us has a lot of information there. And then it's got my number on there. You can always contact me directly. I love to talk to you. This is my passion. So I don't ever think of it as like, something cumbersome or like, whenever somebody wants to talk to me about this stuff, I'm always willing. And so I love it.
Love it. Sweet. Well, I think that's everything.
Dude, it was awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for coming out. We'll have to, I think what we need to do is probably schedule a second episode where we just like really dive into some of the topics that we talked about.
For sure. We did. And I mean, like you covered so much cool stuff and